Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. Happy Sunday. Hope everyone's doing all right. Tonight, we are watching The Alamo, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of The Alamo as well. So we're going to jump, and I'm going to get the link up for you guys first. Let's see who's in here. We got Nick Sweeney. What's up, Nick Sweeney? Nick Citron, Dan Robertson. Good to see all the regulars. Engineer. What's up, man? James Foss. What's up? We've got, I thought I saw Happy Cappy in here. Happy Cappy, good to see you. This is Happy Cappy's Movie Night, brought to you by Mr. Nick Sweeney. Plowboy, what's up, man? Diane Dahl, good to see you. Glad you made it. Going to be watching The Alamo tonight. So this is something that we have been waiting for, and I think this will be a good movie for everybody. I'm going to put up the link. I believe it's available on YouTube for free. I'm going to give this a couple minutes and let everybody roll in here. If you've watched the movie with us before, you know the drill. We hang out for a couple minutes. We'll talk about the history behind the movie, and then we'll start the movie and watch along. The Alamo movie link. How's everybody doing tonight? Have a good Sunday? Let me post this at the top of the chat. Last night we did South of Heaven, West of Hell, which was rather more risque than I was anticipating. Good movie though. I was happy with it. Evan, what's up, man? Just to see you. Spent all day hungover, but I'm normal again. Glad you made it. Just in time. Just in time. I didn't get to see what everybody said too. It's time. Oh no. You guys probably can't even hear me. I was busy getting everything else set up. There we go. I was like looking up stuff about the movie. So I have some trivia about the movie to share, but I also forgot to put my mic in place. There we go. Can everybody hear me? One in the chat if you can hear me. I really was just like looking up stuff on the movie till the last second. So my bad. I'm best be pleased to see one. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Down with the party, says Nick Sweeney. I can get with that. Power to the people. Yes, but we got to be careful with that. Let's see. Nick Citron says I'm second. We got that. That's seconds respectable, man. I'll be tuning in simultaneously as I pack up the sailboats for a trip to Galveston tomorrow. Cool. I've never been to Galveston. I heard it's good sailing though. Can't wait to hear about the basement of the Alamo. We'll work on that. Let's see. I've come looking for trouble, says Nick Sweeney. Uh-oh. It's a Sunday, Nick Sweeney. It's a Sunday. You got to take it easy now. How is our Papa Bear Pig? Says Happy Cappy. Says happy. Let's see. Oh, I said hi to Happy Cappy. Sorry. Just checking everybody in here. Louisiana, good to see you. Derek Boodle, good to see you. All right. We got all the regulars here. We got 23 people already. Awesome. So the movie link is at the top. Should be free on YouTube. Let me double check that. Yeah, it's free. It has ads. So the only thing I was thinking is that we might all get ads at different times. So that might put us at a little bit different place in the movie. If you feel like your timing is off from what we're watching, let me know in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on it, and then we'll try to sync. I'll let you know exactly where I am in the movie because I try not to stop it. That way people don't get thrown off. Let's give it another couple minutes, and then we'll start going over some of the history of the Alamo, the little bit of trivia on the movie. Some stuff I thought was pretty interesting that I didn't know before. Some of the stuff about the Academy Awards is like, whoa, a little crazy. Pee Wee Herman reference for the basement. Sorry. Oh, okay. The Alamo. Yeah, man, I was trying to think of where in this movie there was a reference to the basement, and I knew I'd heard something about the basement of the Alamo. Now it's all clicking together. I can hear you, but can't see you only because one of my eyes isn't as drunk as the other. Well, if you drink half a bottle, I think that evens it back out. Let's see. And what's up, Surrender Monkey? Good to see you, man. Clock Cutter, another movie night. What a treat. Yeah, this is a double header, so this is kind of rare. But we got two movies sponsored by Mr. Nick Sweeney. So it's a Saturday and a Sunday night. If you weren't here for last night, I thought that was a good movie. Go check it out if you got time. And also our latest release, the Mountain Man Massacres. Go check that out. That's our main episode for the week. It'll be Tuesday. It's looking like when I'll have the Comanche versus Rangers episode out. And then we'll have a couple of sleep episodes. I'm putting them out like maybe Christmas Day, depending on when they get done. But those are just like extra episodes for people that have requested basically like a blackout screen and some noise behind it. We're gonna put a campfire noise behind it so that people can sleep to them, which I get. I use videos like that. Let's see. I think sometimes I don't know if it's a compliment when people say that they love to fall asleep to my voice. You know what I mean? It's like, does that mean you're boring or just soothing? I don't know. I think what's left of the Alamo is far inside the perimeter walls that existed. Yes. Survivors were more probably dealt with in the plaza where everyone walks around today. As far as I understand it, yes. And yeah, the Alamo that you see today would be part of a larger complex. And honestly, it's been a long time. It's probably been 20 years since I've seen this version of the Alamo. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how they break that down. But this was a real passion project for John Wayne. He put a lot of his own money into it. It ended up not being a technically a box office success. It made a lot of money, but it cost so much that's how you generally, it's like, well, how much profit did you make? Not a ton, all things considered. And it was snubbed for a lot of it was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, but it only won one. And I thought, well, maybe it was in contention with movies like Psycho and a couple other classics, right? But we'll get into it in just a minute before we watch it. But one of the stars of the film, a guy named Chill Wills, which is a great name, but some of his advertising may have been a little questionable. He took out a really pretty objectionable ad promoting himself for the Academy Award. So we'll get into that and just the basics of the history on the Alamo. We've covered it in depth on other live streams, but we'll give everybody, if you're a complete neophyte to the subject, we'll give you some context for what you're watching. Bama Deanna, good to see you. Freddie, good to see you. Isn't there a 6-barreled shotgun in this movie? You know what? There dang well might be. I just haven't seen it in so long that I can't remember. So we'll all kind of experience it at the same time. And we'll also be, our watch alongs are meant to kind of pick apart the history in it while keeping in mind that we're trying to be charitable and that our metric for the movie is not whether or not it's a super accurate documentary. We like accuracy. You want accuracy. What the? Do I have cough in my mouth again, guys? Jeez Louise. What are you gonna do? However, this is about piquing someone's interest in the movie. Mike Holt, wow, $25 super chat. Shout out to the HOKC community from the Rochester Adams wrestling team. Oh man, thank you very much. That is the best team in Detroit, guys. This is our official HOKC high school wrestling team. Hope everyone is doing well this week for the holidays. Be sure to reach out and check in your people. Yeah, absolutely. Let them know how much you love them and appreciate them. Couldn't concur more, Mike Holtz. And good luck keeping your guys on track. I know wrestling it's a tough season because it comes right through Thanksgiving and Christmas, the big eating holidays. So it's tough. It's a tough time. Surrender Monkey. So I'm not saying America has gone insane recently. Well, but that link for the video isn't available in the UK. Really? Okay. Okay, that's actually a good point for Warren. What's up, man? Shout out from Australia. I listen to your channel most nights when I put my kids to bed. Fantastic. That's awesome. I think it's afternoon for you there, if I'm not mistaken, Warren. But I'm glad that you're here because I'd like to see, can you let us know if that link works for you in Australia? And then we'll kind of straighten out what we can do for our UK and Australia and European listeners. Let's see, Richard Widemark. Yeah, Richard Widemark playing Bowie carried a 6-barrel shotgun. Okay. I was trying to remember the guy who played Widemark. I will be in and out of consciousness tonight. I am suffering from too much good food. Not a problem, damn it, Bama Deanna. I'll be having a tough time pronouncing names tonight, but glad you made it by. Let's stop back in. This is a long movie, guys. This is like a 2-hour, 40-minute movie. So buckle up. Sorry, William, you try to beat me. Not sure what that means. The knock gun, says engineer. I'll have to look into this, guys. Perhaps Taylor Sheridan will tap into this niche, says Dan Robertson. Perhaps he will. Maybe he's watching right now. If he is, what's up, dog? Let's see. Fun fact, musician Phil Collins, yeah, we were talking about this last night, is a huge fan and collector of Alamo memorabilia and has donated over $15
$15 million worth of artifacts to the Bowie knives. Oh, like Bowie knives to the site. Yeah, he is a legitimate expert on it. Okay, video unavailable, says Warren Brandt. You might, I don't know if there's a rental version available where y'all are at. Otherwise, you could just YouTube it, and I'm not telling you what to do with what you find. I'm just saying YouTube it, There's actually a 4-hour roadshow edition. Yeah, when I looked that up, I looked up the run time for it, William Brewer, and the first thing that I got was that it was 4 hours long, and I was like, "What?" And then I guess the director, or the cut that we got, is 2 hours 40 minutes. So they cut an hour and 20 minutes out of it. Okay, let's see. All right, I think you're 10 minutes in. Cool. We can get going. Is there a musical version? I hope not, Derek Boodle. Okay, so guys, my obligatory, I have to go grab my headphones. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And that was a little over 5 seconds, but we'll make it work. All right. Let's see. This is like the Lord of the Rings for our grandparents. Really? I guess that's a good way to put it. Let's see. Mahalo got into characters and battle way more. Not sure what that means. I know what mahalo means. Let's see. Okay, guys. So if you can keep me posted, let's give it a couple more minutes for our UK listeners, actually. Somebody in the UK or in Australia, let me know what you come up with, because I don't want to jump ahead and leave you all out. And actually, this is a good time to do a little history on the Alamo. So this is March. It ends up being March. The final battle is March 6, 1836. This is kind of a culmination of tensions that have happened in San Antonio. San Antonio has been a hotbed for the Texas Revolution. Jeez, my hair's all over the place too. Bama Deanna, $9.99, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. I'm just reading it off the thing. Another puny super chat. She keeps doing that and saying the super chats are puny. They are certainly not. We appreciate any and all super chats. So thank you very much. Really, that's what makes it able to where I can do this. Let's see. Always waiting on the Brits. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no to that. But I'm watching for anybody in the UK to tell me if you guys have something figured out. In the meantime, the Alamo it's a former Mexican former mission, really. The Mexican army has retreated momentarily or temporarily out of San Antonio. In that power vacuum have come the Texans. They're the Texians at the time, a revolutionary rebel force against the Mexican army. They are fighting for Texas as an independent country. They are not fighting for the statehood of Texas. They are fighting for the Republic of Texas. So it's to establish Texas as a completely independent nation of Mexico. As of right now, they are Mexican citizens bound to obey the Mexican government. They're fighting to separate themselves from that, and they've had significant victories in the war so far and significant defeats, and they feel if they can hold on to San Antonio, that'll be a critical victory in the war. The Mexican army has left. The Texans have taken over San Antonio and the Alamo. One of the commanders has left town. I believe one of them has been fired, basically, and I think one of them has passed away. Now, since then, William B. Travis and Jim Bowie are the two guys left in charge. Davy Crockett is coming from Tennessee after kind of getting frustrated with his political career. He's bringing him and several of his boys from Tennessee to come fight for Texas. They think Texas is kind of the new golden land where someone of moderate means can buy land, can start a farm, can do all these things. But in order to do that, they must gain their independence from Mexico. So this war is unfolding. Crockett and his guys want to be a part of it. And they arrive at the Alamo to meet Jim Bowie and William Travis about 2 weeks before the Mexican army returns, maybe about a week before the Mexican army returns. And Santa Anna and his troops long story short, they fly a flag of no quarter. They're telling the Texans to leave, surrender the fort. They will not do it. And so Santa Anna says, like, if you don't leave, we're going to charge in and we're going to take all of you out. A couple things to keep in mind in this movie. Um, Davy Crockett's a relatively recent arrival. William Travis is, in fact, very young and was kind of fleeing a former life of a wife and a child and severe debt, and is kind of quickly risen through the ranks of this Texas revolutionary movement. And Jim Bowie, who is about, I think he's 38, he might be in his early 40s. He's already a famous regional character, but he's on his way out. He's suffering from consumption, what we know today is tuberculosis. That's the most proffered explanation. But you'll see him rapidly deteriorate throughout this film, and by the final battle, he's essentially incapacitated. They will make in the film, it is made very clear that the men know they are not going to make it through the final battle. That's a contentious subject, but in my opinion, they knew they weren't going to make it out of this fight, and it was more about a symbolic stand to show that they were not going to retreat. And this did, I mean, what's the most important thing? What's one of the most important things in warfare? Morale. And this really did uh, change the tone, the tenor, the intensity of the Texans' morale from here on out. And as you've probably heard, this gave birth to the cry, "Remember the Alamo." And it's not only it's national lore today, but I live in Texas, and I can tell you, it is Texan lore. It's become, I think, an in vogue topic to minimize it and to, pick it apart, which is, I think, a valuable historical tool sometimes. But to say that these guys um, weren't brave dudes who were fighting for a cause that they believed in, or to uh, turn it into this kind of contemporary or into this modern day political binary, I think, is low tier argumentation and low tier history. So that's an opinion, but keep that in mind as we are watching. This is a 1961, 1960 or 61 release here. That's forgivable, guys. I'm not a film expert. Has anybody else been having trouble with Google not loading up, by the way? This is somebody's already probably 1960 film. I bet somebody's already telling me in the chat. John Wayne directed. John Wayne invested his own movie. We're going to see a reappearance from the Comancheros of Patrick Wayne, who's in several. He's John Wayne's son. He is in several John Wayne films. Does a good job. We also see Frankie Avalon, which I did not expect. A 1950s teen heartthrob star, a musical legend. And we are going to see Chill Wills. Let's show you this guy real quick. This is our boy Chill Wills. So this old boy is wild. Okay, check this dude out. Chill Wills. It's his real name. His name is I forget his actual name. Theodore Childress Wills, and they call him Chill Wills. So we're gonna see this guy, and let me see who he's playing. He was nominated for an Oscar. He is for Best Supporting Actor. I forget what character he's playing. Let's skip that part though, because the important part is nominated for an Oscar. And where am I at here? There we go. Let me X this out. He's nominated for an Oscar. Okay, the film is nominated for 7 total Oscars. It's up against films like Psycho, a couple other legendary films from 1960. Chill Wills decides he's going to take out an ad in the I believe the LA Times to promote himself. And dude says, I'm currently praying harder than the guys in the Alamo on their last night for your vote and consideration for this Academy Award, which is like not the smartest thing. Not the smartest thing. That's a pretty darn insensitive thing. So John Wayne issued kind of an apology letter for that. He caught a ton of flack. Seemed like that really rubbed people the wrong way. And they did win for best sound. So I think that's another thing. Keep in mind as we're watching here, sounds like they did a really good job on the soundtrack and the sound. So we'll be looking for a treat on that. Um, let's see what else. Yeah, it seemed like it just got snubbed a lot at the Oscars because Homeboy had to really go full. Oh, who did that today? Like, what's a modern day star that really put their foot in their mouth? It's not even. I can't think of someone that's coming to mind, but who even violated the PC of the early 1960s, which is like, I mean, listen, that's tough to do. Um, but yeah, caused them to be significantly snubbed at the Oscars. Trying to think if I'm leaving anything else out other than it was a profitable movie. It could be considered a box office success. It seemed like it had mixed reviews. Some people said it felt like a rushed first draft. Others said it was a masterpiece. So take that what you will. I think it has a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is like, I don't know. There's a bunch of nerds on there. Um, am I leaving anything else out? Other than Wayne invested a significant amount of his own money, did not make his money back, lost money on this film, but still considered it his personal homage, I think, in a lot of ways. This was a pet project for him. Let me turn this up a little bit here. Pump up the volume. There we go. Um, so keep that in mind too. This was a movie maybe akin to his Braveheart or something like that, where this was a real director's passion project for him, and he really threw down for it. Other than that, I think that's all we need to know. Let's see. Nerd Dork says Nick Citron. This is the OG Alamo. I'm gonna check the chat real quick and we'll jump into it. Let's see. We got a lot of people in here already. All right. Why is it called San Antonio de Bejar? It was called Bejar. That's the name of the city. San Antonio de Bejar. It's still. Oh, you probably know that, Dan Robertson. Why is it called San Antonio Bejar? I'm not sure. I don't want to give you an explanation you already know. It's still Bejar County. Let's see. He was a longer. Ugh, that's just a gross term to me. Talking about David Bowie, Jim Bowie. Remember the Alamo. Remember Goliad. Absolutely. What's up, Elite Super Grunt? I've read Bowie was famous. William Brewer says I've read Bowie was a famous Indian fighter who was respected by friend and foe. Yeah, I mean he was more known for the sandbar. They call it the sandbar fight, where he had accompanied some of his boys, had met on a sandbar in the middle of Louisiana and Mississippi on the Mississippi River, but on the state line. And it wasn't his duel, but the duel kind of went south, and then both sides, all the supporters piled in and started to fight themselves. And Bowie pulled out his knife, and it's the first time his knife had been used in combat. So he became famous for like eviscerating this dude in this knife fight. He was wild. He got shot a bunch of times himself. He was a scrapper and a little bit of a land scammer too. Let's see. Liberal did not like the Wayne's. Yeah, I mean, kind of, William. There's a little bit to it. There's a little bit to that. There's that, and then also the guy Chill Wills running that ad campaign was not great. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anything. John Wayne's eldest boy. Yeah, Patrick Wayne is in this. He's in several of John Wayne's movies. Let's see. Louisiana says, I always thought Chill Wills was an interesting character. Do you know who he plays in the film? I didn't have time to look that up. Let's see. Am I missing anything else? William Brewer said, I heard his slave made Bowie's knife. That's one story, but the one I've heard the most is that his older brother made it out of a file in a blacksmith shop, which makes sense. It's about that size. Is it true Santa and his men saluted him when they all got captured, and that gave him away to the Texans? I heard he was trying to flee, I think, dressed as a woman. I think he had already bailed on his troops by then. Okay, let's see. We should be ready to go here. So I'm going to pull up the movie. I got my ear plug in. I'm going to watch along with y'all. All right. Let me close out this window here. Okay, so on 3, 2, 1, I'll start the movie, and we should be off and running. If we have any trouble with the ads, just let me know ask me where I'm at, and we'll reset. All right, here we go. The Alamo, John Wayne's Alamo in three, two, one, and we're off and rolling. Let's see. Chill Wills was a beekeeper. Hmm. Everybody's got a hobby. The Alamo. I like when we open with oil paintings. I like opening with the credits too. It's a little bit of a sentimental thing for me, I think. Chisholm opens with oil paintings though, and I love that. That's probably the best movie opener of all time. It's like a movie in itself, but I digress. We're talking about The Alamo. Co-starring Frankie Avalon. We gotta see who Frankie Avalon plays. I didn't know that till today. Aisa Wayne. Let's see who that is. While the credits are playing, let's see who Aisa Wayne is, guys. Aisa Wayne. Let's see. Let's see. John Wayne's daughter. Okay. All right. We're setting the scene for we got an abandoned Alamo here. And the Alamo was an abandoned mission. And when you see it in real life, it is overwhelmingly underwhelming. Like it is not very big and it's such a historic place. And then you think about it and it's like, wow, all this stuff, this whole battle, this seminal landmark in American history and especially in Texas history is not very big. It all happened right here. Did you see Billy Bob Thornton's Alamo? I've seen parts of it. I'd like to watch it as a movie night here. I thought it'd be good to watch them chronologically though. Let's see, guys. I want to see. Oh, okay. All right. In this movie, Lisa Wayne's like 5 years old, so disregard. Yeah. Let's see. Just kinda rolling through the credits. It's a Batjad production. Bat Jack production? That's not a great name. That's not a great name. That's not a 2025 name. Really making the point though, like, okay, we're showing all around the Alamo. It looks like the Texians are in it though, so maybe it's setting the scene of the Texians in the Alamo before the battle. Okay, in the year of our Lord 1836, Texas, which has known many flags, was then under the colors of Mexico. Though its inhabitants were made up of settlers from far countries in all parts of the United States, they were Mexican citizens all. They could never have this much writing on a movie today. Generalissimo Santa Anna was sweeping north across Mexico towards them, crushing all who opposed his tyrannical rule. They now faced the decision that all men in all times must face, the eternal choice of men to endure oppression or to resist. Nice, nice. Now we're zooming out. Okay, this is the town of Bihar, San Antonio de Bihar. We got the goats outside of it. I like it. You'll still see a lot of goats like this in the, Texas Hill Country. They really thrive here. I believe they're a South African variant, a Boer goat or something like that. Well, some of them are at least. I might be misremembering that, but I think that's right. Very small town, though. It's not very big. There's Colonel Travis. They're saying that General Houston's arrived here. There's Patrick Wayne behind him. Patrick Wayne's got a vibe, dude. I'm a fan. Lead super grunt. Critic list is better than Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, I mean, like, I kinda talk about Rotten Tomatoes so that I can rip on them. Thank you for becoming a member for 1 month, man. Thank you very much. Level 3 supporter. Wow, thank you, sir. I like the costume so far. I like it. We were talking about this last night in, South of Heaven, West of Hell. I like the variation. Sometimes in the 50s movies, we can have everybody has one type of hat or kind of more uniform dress. Texas Frontier especially, you'd see guys wearing all kinds of stuff. We're seeing guys. Okay, here's Sam Houston. He's sporting a pistol and a saber. This is great. This is very accurate so far. He's got the cravat or whatever that's called. And everyone seems to be a relative fan of Houston. He was a popular guy during this time. Dan Robertson, I'm an OK Corral white belt, but dang proud. We're just happy to have you in the dojo, Dan Robertson. Awesome, man. Thank you for a 1 month membership. Thank you, sir. We're adding more and more stuff for members. We got members only chats and all kinds of stuff now. We got coffee cups coming. We're gonna figure out a way to get the members some coffee cups. Elite Super Grunt. I saw that. You're saying the van. Don't worry about it, dog. Spelling's for nerds. Truly. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know that's a controversial statement, but spelling gets on my nerves. Okay, we got a cross up in the background, a crucifix up in the background, really denoting that this is a former mission. There's also a real mix here religiously. That's an odd thing for 1830s and America in general. I know this is Texas, but there was a real divide between Protestants and Catholics. So this is an odd mix here. You see the Mexican flag in the background. They're really painting the picture of this is still Mexico, but there are Texans here. Nerds are cool, says Bamadiana. They can be. They can be. I'm a nerd, says Elite Super Grunt. All right, well, we might have to put you on a watch list, Elite Super Grunt. Just kidding. Okay, now we're kind of arguing back and forth about who's going to take control of the Alamo. We have one guy arguing for Colonel Travis and one guy arguing for Jim Bowie. What's going to end up happening is they'll be given essentially co-command. Criticless is the alternative to RT, and it's free to join. Just add me. Okay, Criticless. I never heard of it. Getting behind the FBI on that watch list. Well, who's our Fed of the week? Was it Arizona boy? He's gonna report you, man. They're saying that Jim Bowie's drunk. Um, yeah, I think they overplay that a little bit in this movie, but he was known as a wild guy. And he was certainly known as like a bit of a swindler. Him and his brother were running basically fraudulent land deals for years in Louisiana. But Houston is saying, I would trust Jim Bowie with my life. I think that was a common sentiment. He didn't rise to the co-command for nothing. And they trusted that that dude was down to scrap. And sometimes I feel like I don't give Travis enough of his due. Like, I don't know, I don't think we would get along in real life. I don't like the fact that he had a slave with him. I think that's a little, not awesome. Not awesome. But he had a force of personality and he was brave. Obviously, dude was down to scrap. And he was, you know, skilled enough as a soldier to rise to this rank at this early age. He's in his mid 20s at this point. Nick Sweeney says power to the nerds. Listen, guys, I'm not anti-nerd specifically. I guess I'm maybe anti-spelling nerd. And I'm a good speller, I think, but they just go, oh wow, that's the wrong there. It's like, well, get the point across or don't. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm a public school guy. What do you want me to do? Now we've got a little bit of a Django Unchained scene here going on. Oh well, this is okay. Jim Bowie also has a enslaved person here. Guys, I don't even know if I can say slave. A little bit of a Django Unchained moment though, a little bit. Let's see. I like the horses. I like the costume so far. I like the small size of San Antonio de Bejar. You could tell like this was a passion project. Like every little detail so far is really thought out. I don't know where this was shot, but it looks like a very Texas sky. I would be curious here. Shooting location. Looks like Bracketville, which is way down south. That is where Pompey Factor is buried. Yeah, just outside Bracketville. Thought that looked like a Texas guy. They're really showing Bowie as a lush here, which is not wrong, but kind of playing it up a touch, you know? I think Sam Houston has on a beaded gun belt. He does, yeah. Nice touch. I like the interior here, all adobe bricks, and it's just sparse. It's relatively sparse, and that's how it would have looked. I like they are showing in my recollection, I thought that Bowie in this movie was played by a much older man, but no, this looks like a guy, late 30s, early 40s. Let's see, way down south in Texas, deep in the heart of Texas. It's the infamous knife. That knife was legitimately infamous, though. Like, it's not a joke. Like, he was known all over for that knife because it was like, did you hear that Bowie had gutted a guy with his knife? And everyone was like, whoa, really? There's not that much to talk about on the Texas frontier, so word gets around fast. Founder of Steiner Ranch here in Austin was illiterate and couldn't spell his name. His signature was simply XS for TC Buck Steiner. All he could spell was XS. Now he is a millionaire. Yeah, he's got that's a famous rodeo family. His grandson or great grandson, Rocker Steiner, just won the bareback title. His son or grandson was Terry Steiner was a world champion bull rider. Troy Steiner, world champion bulldogger. Big famous rodeo family, talented guys. Let's see, now we've got, I believe, Texan volunteers much. I'm trying to use the word Texian because I know that's the contemporarily appropriate term. So we're seeing the Texians march into the Alamo. Very disciplined military force, which I think they're going to contrast later with Crockett's force. But even in their discipline, we're seeing guys dressed in whatever clothes they had. All right, we stand here ready to do our duty and cognizant of the will of God. They're kind of overselling how dramatic and dire how they're people didn't realize the guys inside didn't realize how dire the situation was until much later, until probably a couple days before the actual last charge. Oh, there's a six-barreled shotgun. Okay, okay, that's swaggy. We are showing the Alamo in a state of deterioration, which is accurate. It was a mission that had been closed for a while. I believe at least like since the 1820s, so a decade or so. Fair amount of mules, which we always like to see. And behind him, you see these big, flat, open expanses, and that's not really indicative of the territory that surrounds the Alamo. It's a lot more hilly. San Antonio is just kind of right at the eastern crest of the Texas Hill Country. So even surrounding the Alamo, it's more brushy and hilly than this movie shows in particular. Not mountains, not big tall trees, but brushy and hilly. Steiner, my preferred glasses and scopes. I didn't know they made glasses and scopes. Some variations of the buoy look like a short messer. I don't know what that means, Elise Supergrunt. Let's see. Work over spelling. Yeah, I'm not anti-spelling. I'm just saying people get a little sensitive with it. Now we're seeing this kind of confrontation between Travis and Bowie, which I haven't seen a lot of firsthand recollections of or firsthand accounts of. As far as I know, they were relatively copacetic, but that's might be to actually sell some drama in the movie. And again, we're showing this isn't. There are plains like this around San Antonio, especially at the time, but we're looking for a few more hills to be completely accurate. To be really picky. A messer is a German long knife, says Elite Super Grunt. It's from the 14th, 15th century. Oh, I did not know that. That's for sure. And then Jim Bowie's got some swag here. He's got a cigar in his mouth. He's kind of more of a man of the people, one of the boys than Travis as a traditional military leader. They are showing the multicultural nature of the Alamo Force too. Like the Alamo Force, the defenders of the Alamo. If you go look at the memorial plaque, there are immigrants from Ireland, and Germany, the UK, I believe, several Mexican citizens, actual like um, fully cultural Mexican citizens, and then Tejanos, which are Texans who kind of like the original Texans. They are Texans of Latino descent who identify as Texans. Let's see. Let's see. I'll check in the chat real quick, but give me 1 second. I'll check it again. So we have Travis kind of harshing the locals. Oh, okay. So this is the Seguins that he's talking to, namesake of the town about 30 miles east of San Antonio now. So what ends up happening is Juan Seguin is going to be one of the guys who is sent out for reinforcements for the Alamo, and the battle ends up taking place before he can return. But he's a real legendary character in the history of the Alamo. Let's see. Aho, says Kristen. What's up, man? Kristen 420. Nice name. Pomo out of Robertson Rancheria band of Pomos watching from Northern California. Right on, man. Right on. I have a lot of family up there. Hopefully you saw our Bloody Island episode. Now Bowie is arguing for the reliability of the Seguin family, and Travis is kind of saying not to trust them because of their Latino background, basically. Which honestly, this is a good delivery vehicle for the film because it drives home the point that this is not a racial conflict. It's a multicultural force on the Texian side, which is, I think, is an important point to understand. Yeah, seen it. Right on, Kristen. Hopefully you liked it. I spent a lot of time up at Clear Lake, man. One of my favorite parts of California. Let's see. Resembling. Oh, let's see. I don't want. I'm checking the chat here and there, so I'm doing my best to skip back and forth. Now we have Travis, and there's a nice set of whiskey bottles. I just read a quote from a German traveler in 1850s Texas that remarked that Texas was the only place where you could have like shoddy walls, a ramshackle door, and then inside you would sit on a barrel for a chair and sip on expensive brandy while someone played Beethoven on the piano. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like that today. Not, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Now Travis is personally meeting with Juan Seguin. I like how Seguin has a saber on his belt. It's a really uh, typical feature in all of the depictions of him. He has a statue in the town square of Seguin, and he's brandishing that saber. So it's a nice touch. Travis still seems relatively dubious of him. Now, I don't know of the accuracy of Travis actually being terribly dubious of Juan Seguin, but we are kind of building a point of tension here. Seguin is asking Travis how much he has to his name, how much money or land do you have to your name? And Travis basically says, I'm in debt for a lot of money, which some people posit as another reason for his willingness to fight to the very end, because you can't charge a dead man. Now we have, it looks like some of the Tennessean contingent riding up, and we have a bit of a traveling preacher of some kind. He's pulling out a pocket Bible. He's taking time to pray. Let's see where this goes. He's telling his young traveling companion to fire a shot of just black powder as a signal, I believe, to the people in San Antonio de Bihar. It is interesting that the young man with the rifle makes the point that he it's kind of a little sticky. So if it gets slow on you or anything's just lagging, everybody see me? Give me a one in the chat if you can see me and hear me. I want to make sure I'm back online here. It says I'm live. All right, right on. Thank you. All right, now we're seeing Davy Crockett, played by John Wayne, appear with his contingent of Tennesseans. They've all got coonskin caps on, which would not be necessarily the case. We don't even know that Davy Crockett had a coonskin cap on at the Alamo, but it's kind of necessary to drive the character home. Interesting that as they're riding across the prairie, we see 3 or 4 young fawns, little white-tailed deer, pop up and run away from them. I don't know if that was planned or not, but that is what you would see. So we're seeing this far more ragtag, far less formalized contingent of Tennesseans show up for the fight under the nominal leadership of Davy Crockett. They're all a bit more wild looking, noticeably less disciplined, but also they appear more experienced. Everybody's kind of looking to Davy as the leader, which would more or less be true. They're just on the outside, on the outskirts of the San Antonio de Bihar. I like the landscape shots here. They're just kinda taking in the town. Probably again, this is more coonskin caps than you would have seen, but they're driving home the point to differentiate the Texans from the, Tennesseans. Now they're all throwing the coonskin caps in the air, obviously not terribly practical, but we're making a point here. His family gets mad if you call him Davy. Well, it's called Davy in the movie, so I gotta go with it. I gotta go with what the movie says. They're in a cantina now, having a good time. I like it. I like it. We're partying. It would be a good time. I'd go to a cantina in 1836 San Antonio. And this is indicative of what an actual party would there was a lot of parties in San Antonio at the time. It was a party place. The instruments look good. 12 string guitar, a little tiny, I don't think the guitar that he's playing here has strings on it, but good acting. We're seeing a lot of waltzes and, um, cotillions and stuff during this time. I don't know that the cantina would have said a big it wouldn't have a great big sign that says cantina, but we're driving a point home here. The hat on Travis is the style that he's purported to have worn, this big wide brimmed palm straw hat. Got a hitching post outside, very nice. This isn't honestly, this isn't that different from Texas right now. They got a big porch, they got some tables outside. We have the swinging doors, the batwing doors, which are this is a little early to be seeing the batwing doors, but they exist at a height for people to see that the operation is open, but so children can't see in. So it has a purpose. Shows Davy, he's out there partying. Now, Davy is a married man at this time. He's this is his second marriage. He has, I believe, 4 or 5 children. He's coming off a I don't want to say a failed political career, but one that he's become frustrated with. He's been elected and then lost his election bid to Congress twice. He's a national celebrity at this point. He has plays about his life on Broadway, starring a fictional character named Nimrod Wildfire. He spent time in New York City, Washington, D.C., Boston, Philadelphia. He's gone to the plays himself, been called out in the audience. So he's famous. Bowie is regionally famous. Davy is nationally famous. Now, Travis wants to speak with Davy Crockett. Again, there's not a lot of firsthand accounts of this actually taking place. It sounds more like Crockett arrived at the doors of the Alamo and then they kind of went inside and got right to work. There's a lot of reinforcement work, a lot of construction work that had to be done on the Alamo itself because walls were falling down, barriers had to be made up until late at night, early in the morning of the actual final attack. They were working. They were reinforcing fences and hauling dirt and wood. It's pretty miserable. Mhm, mhm. I'm checking the chat, but I'm not. There's a lot going on here. Also, we have garlic and corn hanging from the ceiling to dry. Very common thing. Peppers drying on the walls. Dan Robertson, $10 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. I read that Behar translate to place with bees. Oh, okay. Sorry. Just like the Comanche Namunu in the area called themselves the Panateka or honey eaters. Yes, absolutely. I did not know that about Behar though. History of honey. Very interesting. Thank you, sir. I did not know that. So they're having a bit of a backroom meeting here with Crockett and Travis. So far, so good though. The costumes are a little more extravagant than you might see, but we're driving home the point that San Antonio de Bejar is kind of the major metropolitan area, major metropolitan center of the area. This is a place, not necessarily a rundown, dusty town, or at least not just that. It's a center of commerce, a center of entertainment, a center of parties, and it's a major defining factor in who's going to win this war between Texas and Mexico. Right now, Texans control it, but if they lose the Alamo, they will lose control of it. Nick Citron, Davy Wavy is way cooler. Nick Citron says, "Elite Super Grunt, where are you located on this very flat planet of ours?" Don't start with the flat Earth stuff, Nick Citron. That lights the chat up. Once you start that ball rolling, you can't stop it. So Travis is detailing the Texians' mistreatment under the Mexican government. They can't trade, they can't vote, they have no political representation. Honestly, kind of similar complaints that you might hear from the Californios. And the Texans are there simply to provide a barrier, a human barrier against the Comanche, because the Comanche were attacking deep into Mexico. You can watch our episode on the raid on Saltillo. We do a whole episode about it. We just did a live stream about it. So to prevent that, or at least kind of mitigate it, Anglo settlers were let into Texas to be a barrier so they could get attacked first before the Comanche made their way into Mexico. And the nightmare was that they would make it to Mexico City. Now we're playing this game of these guys keeping the feathers up on their nose. Very interesting. Oh, Davies lost. They did have a lot of like different saloon games. I've never read of that one, but that's interesting. Travis is continuing to be a very formal character. He was from a wealthy background, so he was notably a little bit more formal in his decor. And then Davy Crockett has to take a punch to the face for losing the bar game. Cool. I like this. This is a party. This is cool. Now we're just gonna play hit each other back and forth until somebody passes out, gets knocked out. Cool. I can dig it. The great country of Texas is Elite Super Grunt. Yeah, that's not a joke. That's how they still view it. Adam Cox, what's up, man? What's up, Mojo? Oh, y'all, if you're in the chat, make sure you click the like button. That really helps us in the algorithm. Click the like button, share this with a fellow movie lover. I'm playing HLL. What's HLL? Crockett's got a hell of an outfit on. It's at least kind of representative of where he's coming from. He would have been in Congress, a year earlier or so. So he's not unfamiliar with wearing nicer clothes, and he's not unfamiliar with the world that Travis is coming from. So he's kind of meeting him in the middle here. He offers him a cigar. Now, I don't have any firsthand accounts or historical accounts myself of this taking place, but we're using it as an illustrative scene to show the characters of both men and to kind of tell the story of the Texans' grievances. And we're kind of setting the ground for the moral stand that the men will take later in the movie. It means they're arguing that people should be able to live free, talk free, go where they want to, be drunk or sober. A very American bent to what they're looking for. Let's see. The Alamo had to happen, says Happy Cappy. It was fate. Uh, yeah, it's hard to imagine Texas history without it, I would say. Let's see. They're still kind of setting a scene here for the rest of the movie. So far, so good, guys. I don't see why the critics would pan this so much. The acting is good, the setting is good, the details are good, and anything that's off is not, it's off for a reason. We're using it as a tool to set the rest of the movie up, and it doesn't dissuade from the actual totality of the story. Oh, I always do this. Let me put this poll up. Let me ask how many of you have seen this? Start a poll. You seen the Alamo? And Crockett is having a meeting with Travis, and they're kind of discussing the differences between the two forces. They're portraying the Texians' forces under Travis to be far more disciplined, though still rather ad hoc, rather inexperienced, while the Tennesseans seem more experienced, but less disciplined, less formal. Now we're showing a young Latina woman doing a table dance. This actually would have happened, though. And it's not like, again, a gratuitous table dance. It's just like this is representative of what would have happened. Mm, maybe a tad gratuitous, but, we're showing these, whiskey jugs everywhere. Those would have come from Seguin at the time. There was a famous jug maker there. Well, the Seguin area. Seguin wasn't yet a no, I'm mistaken. That was a couple years later. Sorry, guys, but those jugs a couple years later would all come from Seguin. Very colorful costumes, though. I like this. I always like when they portray the Old West as a colorful place because it was. So that's the end of the show, and now we see a young Mexican boy hauling someone's baggage, and we're seeing Crockett now in a wide-brimmed hat similar to what Travis wears. So maybe symbolizing a little bit more cooperation. Got a attractive young Latina woman here, and Crockett sees her. Now Crockett, he's obviously smitten, but it's like, Davey, bro, you got a wife back home. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this movie portrays that. I believe they're ceramic jugs, Bam Indiana. Now we're seeing another two-horse cart. This is kind of like a Uber of its time. And we're seeing a young man, I believe an inhabitant of San Antonio de Bejar, and he is denying her the carriage that she's ordered. And he's talking about how easy it is to sell horses because the Texans and the Mexicans are willing to pay anything to replenish their forces. Ceramic mugs can be worth a small fortune these days. Yeah, there's a whole industry of archaeologists or amateur archaeologists that look for him in the area from San Antonio east. This is odd. He's he's portraying himself as a star worshiper. He says he prays to the North Star for 10 minutes every night and it keeps rheumatism away. Never heard of Crockett saying this, but that's an interesting little quirk. Now this rude San Antonian is taking the woman away to discuss business of some kind. Cool costume so far though. We are really taking our time to set up this action. Let's see. Lots of candles, lots of adobe walls. They're doing a good job of showing the indoors as being dark. For some reason, Davy is now carrying the small Mexican boy. Not really sure why, but it seems like he has some purpose to it. The boy does not seem to be objecting. We are seeing these, what would you call those? Like stamp works of different designs that go along the borders of the walls and the door. Interesting touch. Honestly, the doors are a little too nice for the time. Now he's saying that the young man who was helping carry the luggage needs to be tipped. He's really driving that point home. Now we see him being threatened with a gun. They are taking their time to develop this, guys, I will say. Let's see. Let me check the chat real quick. Um, Louisiana Grace says, sorry, it's just begun, but I have to go to sleep. Yeah, no worries, man. This will be up tomorrow. You may go to hell. I'm going to Texas, says Dan Robertson. That's a famous Davy Crockett quote. Any jugs are good jugs, says Nick Sweeney. Fair enough. Fair enough. John Wayne's always writing himself scenes with him and these hot Latinas or whatever the PC term. I think that works, right? Which is understandable. Understandable. No shade for that. This is a really dressed up room. It has flowers in it, blue glass jugs. We're seeing lots of uh, pottery and flowers everywhere, which again is good. I think they're doing a good job of selling both sides of San Antonio at this time. This is a hotel of sorts. We got the sign that says Baños up in the background. This is all pretty accurate. It would kind of tell you, well, we have baths here, whatever a building had inside of it, they'd usually put a sign out front. Very literal sign saying, "Oh, we got baths." Let's see. Now we see an argument unfolding between our leading lady here and our San Antonio business swindler man. We do see a lot of crucifixes everywhere, which is a nice touch being a predominantly Catholic town. Really, to be a citizen of Mexico, it was required that you convert to Catholicism. So many Texans, at least ostensibly did, nominally would refer to themselves as Catholics, which is like a pretty big compromise for the 1830s. But and we're of course seeing this. Oh, this jerk thinks he's going to marry her, and she's like, "I'm not going to marry you." And this blonde-haired San Antonio businessman is saying that he's a friend of Santa Anna, so he will get what he wants. He's really playing up this villain angle here. It's got to be more fun to play the villain, guys. Let's see. He's very confident that he's going to marry her. Again, nice costumes. This door, though, this is a very nice thick door, even for hotels in San Antonio at the time. You'd see more like a thinner wooden door with like one side of planks. Bob Knuth is so this is Richard Widemark that we're looking at here playing the villain. Lots of color though. I like this. I like the thick adobe walls. I like the shutters because this is an urban combat environment. Really, everyone thinks of the Alamo kind of being out on in the dusty expanses of Texas, but really it's in the center of the town. This is an odd angle for me though that they're portraying Crockett as unmarried. I guess it's so that you can have a romantic angle in the film for the leading man. But Crockett would be 48, I believe, at the time of this battle, late 40s, and Wayne's looks a little older than that, in my opinion, and also just portraying him as not married because he was married to his second wife with, I think, like I said, 4 or 5 kids. Oh, the allergies are getting me, guys. Ah, beautiful weather here, but the allergies are kicking. Let's see. If I had better internet, I would stream. Well, I get that problem, Elite Super Grunt. And she's given him the question that we've all heard, "Would you be hitting on me if I was 60 years old and wrinkled?" And of course, the answer is, "Yes, absolutely." And he's given the same answer, so nothing's changed. Even the women's costumes look good, though, more or less. Probably not this see-through lace number. A little bit more moderate than that, or a little bit more modest than that. Good use of lighting, though. I like how they're kind of using shadows to hide characters at times when their lines are a little when they want to make them look a little bit more mysterious or downtrodden. Again, we're coming down the stairs of this hotel. And it looks like he's being accosted by a band of local brigands. I'm curious as to why he's wearing the big flat brimmed hat, though. I didn't know that he took the coonskin cap off at any point during this movie. So I'm guessing that it's a vehicle to kind of show his integration into San Antonio. He's got fringed pants, which honestly is kind of a look. Nice. He jumps on the wagon, jumps back on them, kind of like a Attitude Era WWF thing. Now he's just throwing overhand rights, big overhand rights. Bowie comes up, he sees there's trouble. It's kinda like, "All right, go get him, Bowie." He's wild. He's like, "This is what I'm made for." Wham! Just smashes over everybody with his horse. And honestly, if you see Jim Bowie coming, like, you need to bail. This guy has gutted people before. Literally, this is like he just wakes up hoping something like this is gonna happen. A nasty overhand right from John Wayne, and Bowie's got him in double headlocks now, and John Wayne is whacking people over the head with Jim Bowie's knife. Great, great scene here because he borrows Bowie's knife and whacks people over the head with it, and because of the knife, he says, "You must be Jim Bowie." 'Cause the weapon was just legendary. People didn't they weren't common yet. They would become common in the decade or so to come. Texas Rangers in the 1840s, really, that was a a necessary, indispensable piece of kit for them. Oh, god. Now they're heading off to have a drink. Awesome, awesome scene. Everyone in the bar is hammered. Honestly, this is a pretty, like this would have happened in San Antonio. This is a little exaggerative, but Frankie Valli is playing the bartender here. Okay, okay. And we have this kind of lattice work walls, a lot of those, which is pretty accurate for a hot town like San Antonio. Now Bowie and Davy Crockett are outside just enjoying some tequila. Not dissimilar from San Antonio today. If you've never been to San Antonio, I do recommend it. It's a cool town. I'm not seeing Bowie exhibit any signs of consumption yet, which I find a little confusing. Like, you wouldn't see him necessarily incapacitated yet, but if they're lining this up correctly chronologically, by the time Crockett arrives, I believe there's 2 weeks or less before the actual final battle. So Bowie would be deteriorating pretty rapidly around this time. Let's see. I have great internet, says Bambi. Well, rub it in. I can't believe I can't get fiber in South Austin, but I can't yet. Having a bit of a philosophical drink here with Bowie and Crockett, and we're talking about their admiration for hmm, talking about our admiration for either the Mexicans or the Texians. Oh, we're talking about the Mexican citizens and Bowie's admiration for their culture and way of life. He's saying they have a wonderful culture, a better way than doing things than your typical Yank. He says, and he says the women are awesome. So you know what? Hard to disagree. Oop, 1 second. There we go. Bowie's saying you got a real good way of putting things into words. He's kind of struggling with his adjectives here. Bowie is saying he has a wife and 2 young boys, which I guess slipped my mind in describing his situation here, but he really should appear a little bit more incapacitated, in my opinion. He says he sent them to Mexico, with Coahuila, Mexico, which is where Saltillo is, where the Comanche attacked in the 1840s, so a little bit after this, but northern Mexico. And honestly, he's there talking about his wife. Davey's supposed to be married, and anytime this young lady appears, they both forget that real quick. Crockett's got that look on his face like he's never heard of his wife before. Couldn't pick her out of a lineup. She's saying, "I heard you got in a fight in the street," and Crockett's like, "Oh, no, no, that's conjecture." She said, "It sounded like there was a drunken brawl happening outside," and he's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about." He's a Chad, dude. You got to respect this. She's like, "I'm positive you got in a drunken brawl," and he's like, "I've never ever been in a brawl in my life." And her kind of, but she's a good character because her kind of growing apprehension and concern with this growing brewing conflict is representative of the citizens of San Antonio at the time. Because there were a couple thousand people living in San Antonio at this time. So there was a whole city, living their lives before, during, and after the Battle of the Alamo unfolded. Kind of reminds me of, like, not directly. Well, I mean, this is a little bit of a stretch, but like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the trains never stopped running. Like, people went to work that day. I believe one guy was in both. One guy was in both bomb droppings. He had been hit or been there at Hiroshima, and then decided I'm getting out of here, and then been hit in Nagasaki and survived both. But the cities didn't stop running. Like, regular life does keep unfolding as history unfolds. Every scene does culminate with a trip to the saloon, though. It's like, all right, we got to go get a drink. Oh, now they're culminating by going to church. So very interesting. And they're approaching the cathedral here. We'll see what happens here. They're saying, "Listen, one of our boys here is drunk. We can't go to church with this guy." I mean, maybe that's the best place for him to be. They're telling the drunk guy to hold your breath because we don't want him to smell the booze on your breath. We got a lot of top hats though, wide brimmed hats, colorful garb. So this is all pretty realistic. A lot of fringe. Maybe they're overselling the fringe a touch, but there was a lot of fringe. The only lighting is torches and candles. And really, what happened a lot in Old West towns, especially ones constructed of wood, and like in California and the Northwest, they burn down all the time. Less of a hazard here in the Adobe buildings, but still happened all the time. So we're inside of a cathedral. I don't know if this is the Alamo's Cathedral. Exactly what we're looking at here. We are seeing a collection of Protestant Yankees crawling through a Spanish Catholic mission, though. So this is an interesting juxtaposition of cultures in and of itself. And we're seeing kegs of gunpowder, I believe, down here. Ammunition, gunpowder, weapons stores. Y'all ever went to church drunk? No, I haven't, but maybe it's I don't know. I don't know if it's like more or less disrespectful. If it's like, well, that's the place you should be, or don't go. I don't know. So they found a bunch of gunpowder. They found a bunch of weapons. Now they think, okay, we can use this. Now we see the Mexican army making their way up what I believe would be the San Antonio River. There are a lot of rivers around San Antonio, so they're making their way up the river. There's a lot of Mexican flags to really drive home the point that this is the Mexican army. They're bringing artillery, cavalry. Great scene here showing them crossing the river. It may not have necessarily happened this fast, but it's a great scene to show the urgency with which they're moving because they're coming back to San Antonio. They've left San Antonio, they've kind of given it up, and now San Antana, Santa Ana is hell bent on getting San Antonio back by any means necessary. It has to be a total victory to not only change the direction of the war to really solidify their victory, but to reclaim his honor as a commander. He really viewed himself as the Napoleon of the West. So being driven out of a city by a bunch of brigands was just completely unacceptable. Now we're seeing the Mexican army move through the territory, and they're just sweeping through the territory like a large force that they are. Now we see more Texians pouring into San Antonio. And this young Latina lady is stretching with the window open, and Crockett's kind of, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of a peeper vibe, but this is the 19th century. Maybe things were different. She's given, I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe she's not helping. She's not driving him away. Guy's got to concentrate here, lady. Santa Anna's on his way. Crockett's just posting a foot up on the window. He's asking her out to breakfast. He knows the Mexican army is coming. He's like, well, let's go get breakfast though. Got to respect that, guys. And Crockett was a Chad. Crockett was a Chad, but there's no evidence that he had any kind of romantic interlude in San Antonio, extramarital romantic interlude. We're showing a fair amount of luxurious items inside the room. We have I believe that's a chifforobe, a cabinet of some kind, an old painting on the wall, fancy candlesticks. All right, I'm gonna check the chat real quick. We got a lot of internet connection talk, but I don't see any questions on the Alamo. So let me see. Let me see. I think we're caught up. So Davy's just getting back from his breakfast date with our leading lady character. He's chipper as a chipmunk. He's having a grand old time. Now we're taking the arms and ammunitions that we found and supplying the Alamo with them, taking them into the Alamo. And I guess this is just like being a tad picky, but yes, the surrounding area, the areas that they've shown Santa Ana's army coming through are certainly more very South Texas than San Antonio, edge of the hill country. But that's being very picky. Now we're seeing this kind of the neophyte, the rookie nature of a lot of the Texian soldiers. Travis is trying to instill this sense of order and discipline in them, but they're, you know, essentially amateur soldiers. They are not used to any kind of rank and file discipline. Most of your typical Texians would be incredibly averse to that, and that's why they're here in the first place. A lot of mules, a lot of mules. I like to see that. I like to see that. We are showing the kind of ramshackle nature of the structure at the time. It looks like something that needs to be repaired immediately, right? So a, a good thing. It's an accurate thing because it was basically, like I said, a couple of weeks of construction work prior to the battle. These guys worked nonstop trying to um, reinforce walls and fix gaps in the walls and repair cannon holes from cannonballs. But I think what we'll see is hope growing for the Texians' resistance. That's a lot of what happened in real life. They became more and more sure of themselves until finally they saw that hope was completely lost. All right, we're seeing another meeting taking place. Now we've got Mrs. Dickinson here. We've got a time honored tradition of writing in a hot blonde and a hot brunette into the story. Seems like the story just can't do without them. Was it true that Tennessee guys held the least fortified positions? That's what I heard. Is that Crockett and his men, or that's what I've read? Is that Crockett and his men occupied? I want to say it's the southeast corner, but don't quote me on that. But the least fortified corner, yes, where some of the hottest fighting took place. And I believe this young lady that we're seeing here, that this child is, I believe, John Wayne's daughter. And he says, kind of a shame that kids have to grow up into people. Hmm, you know what I mean? He's not wrong. Now everybody's sharing a cigar. I am curious if when we're going to show Bowie's health condition, but we're doing a good job of showing each character's disposition and almost backstory just through their garb. Bowie's got a bit of a rough look to him. Crockett's got kind of this mix of civility and backwoods character. You see Juan Seguin over in the left hand side, dressed as a military man. I believe Seguin would have been in his early 30s or late 20s when the Alamo took place, so maybe a little bit older actor there than you would have seen in real life. But very cool that they included Seguin into this story. Was it true? Okay, we got that. Happy Cappy says, "Be right back." No problem, no problem. Bowie and Travis are arguing again, and Travis is saying that I command. As far as I understand, it was a much more copacetic co-commanding situation, but their personalities were very, very different. So Travis asks Crockett if his men will actually fight, and Crockett just kind of says, like, "Well, bro, what do you think?" Like, yes, they will fight. So Travis is trying to tell the guys to tell their men that large numbers of reinforcement are on the way, and then to tell them not to tell them how big Santa Anna's forces are that are coming, because if they find out, they're all going to leave. And then Bowie is saying, "They're not gonna leave. You need to tell them the truth. They're here because they wanna be here." Travis says, "Well, your men are militia volunteers. They're not bound to stay here. And if we tell them what's coming, they're all gonna leave, and then we'll lose the Alamo." And Seguin is just kinda hanging back and taking this all in. So there's a real contention on should the men be aware of the threat that's coming, and should they be lied to about the number of reinforcements that are coming? I lived in Fiona for a bit, says Charles Smith. I lived in a stucco building that was supposed to be part of the XIT ranch. I don't know for sure, but I know it had a ghost in it. Lots of ghosts in Texas, man. Maybe a few too many. Now we're seeing a gathering of the volunteers outside. More whiskey drinking. We've got this real kind of Otis from the Andrew Griffith Show character here, who's just good natured, perpetually inebriated, but plays a pivotal role to all of the main characters. A pivotal side man. And we see Crockett shooting down some of the local or some of the lore around his name. Very much reminiscent of the Braveheart scene where he says, "Oh, you're not William Wallace." He says, "Oh, yeah, I've heard William Wallace is 6 feet tall and shoots lightning bolts out of his eyes." There was a lot of lore around Crockett, like obviously staring down a bear. He killed him a bar when he was only 3, stuff like that. It was already circulating around in the 1830s. So he spent a fair amount of time either building up or shooting down certain myths about him or certain exaggerations about him. Um, Crockett is meeting with Seguin's father, and the uh, leading lady here is telling him that Seguin's father is the alcalde of San Antonio, which is the mayor, the equivalent of a mayor. So we're doing a good job of painting this third part of the story, which is the Seguins and the Mexican citizens of the area who are also dealing with the combined problem of Texians on one side and the Mexican army on the other, under very real threat themselves, as is their way of life. Let's see. And we're seeing some kind of talk about, I'm not sure. So Crockett's drawing an analogy that Santa Anna is a bull in the herd who has gotten loose and has gored a bunch of other bulls, and he must be stopped, essentially. And we see a letter in Spanish being delivered to the Texians. It's addressed to Davy Crockett and the Tennesseans who accompany him. She is reading it out loud to them now in English. "You are interlopers in a country where you are neither welcome nor wanted. This is the order you are given. Depart with all haste and at once, because it has come to our attention that you are possibly considering joining the rebels now in their skulking mission. This is not your fight. Depart. Should you fail to abide by this order, I shall chastise you even until death." Signed, Generalissimo Antonio Miguel de Santa Anna. She read it better than I did, but in case you're just watching. And there's a ragtag bunch of group of Texians and Tennesseans around. Now, this is a more illustrative scene than it is entirely accurate, but it does show the growing indignance and this kind of peak of indignance when the Tennesseans are told to retreat. Because at heart, these are Americans, basically a generation removed, maybe 2 generations removed from the Revolutionary War. And one thing they do not like being told is what to do. They do not like being told what to do, for better or for worse. And we're kind of illustrating the illiterate nature of many of the frontier settlers, which is kind of an exaggeration. But some of the men are asking what certain words in the letter means. But stereotypes exist for a reason sometimes. Your average your average settler would be more literate than you might imagine, but um, may not have a terribly expansive vocabulary depending on their background. Half of you have seen it before, half of you haven't. Okay. How much real combat experience did Santa Anna have? Several years. I take it he wasn't out there out front. He wasn't as out front as Washington. No, but he had lots of success. He was already known as the Napoleon of the West. And then things would get much better temporarily for him and then much, much, much worse. So Crockett is kind of be a little more diplomatic with his response to Santa Anna, and his men are saying, You're kind of a wuss, bro. You got to tell him to go F himself." And Crockett says, "You've convinced me then. We'll stay here and fight." These guys were bellicose dudes. Like, they did come to fight. They came to get down. Now Crockett's taking the leading lady by the arm and leading her off. Like, I'm telling you guys, like, he's never even heard of his wife in Tennessee. I kinda like how they take the wife in Tennessee out of this. It frees him up a little bit. "I fell asleep and woke myself up snoring." "No problem. Welcome back, Mama Deanna." So now Crockett is out walking along what would probably be the San Antonio River. It runs right through the San Antonio River walk today, and he's just out on a little lunch date with the leading lady here. She says, "I know about all your reputation. You're a bit of a ruffian," and he's saying, "No, baby, that's a big fat lie." I mean, for having an entire army of a country coming to get you, he's pretty chill. He's really set on taking her out, which I respect. He's saying, "Listen, my boys are cool. Some of them don't bathe as much as they should, but they're good guys. Don't worry about the Tennesseans." And he's, remarking on the beauty of the country. He said, "I thought this was all burnt over sand, but it's got green pastures and beautiful trees and rivers." Which this is accurate. You do see big, huge trees, big, giant oak trees along the riverbanks. So far, so good, guys. They put a lot of effort into this movie. Clearly, they are taking on. They are. I don't know how this could be 4 hours. The 4 hour one must have been long. It was a cool shot of like them. A cool shot from above, looking down at them, looking up at the tree. That must have been a pain in the butt to set up. I heard that Crockett was joking about the inaccuracy of the Mexican muskets compared to his long rifles. That's true. He was basically saying like they're so inaccurate that there's nothing to worry about. But I think he was trying to sell his guys on sticking around and fighting. Her name is Flaca. Okay. Means like skinny. Sometimes Spanish nicknames can be a little rough, guys. They're kind of like Comanche names where they're very descriptive and kind of rough. I know because I've been the recipient of several of them. He says, I want to tell you something, Flaca, and I want you to listen tight. I'm talking about you. He's getting a little philosophical. He's talking about all people everywhere. He says, when I came to Texas, I was looking for something and I didn't know what. He says, I've spent my life stomping on other men or in some cases getting stomped. Fair enough. He said, I had me some money, I had me some medals, but it's never been worth it. It was like I was empty, he says, but I'm not empty anymore because I went to San Antonio and I picked up a babe. Well, he's saying like because I found a battle between right and wrong and standing up for the Texans against the Mexican army, but I think we all know what he means. There's just a river behind him, so there's not a lot to report on here. Nice neckerchief, nice use of fringe and beadwork. Probably more beadwork in this movie than you would actually see in real life. Why did Mexican cavalry still use lances at this time? Comanche influence, questions Freddie V. No, actually, the Comanche were influenced by the Spaniards to have those big long lances. And at the time, for the Mexican army, it was a cheap and effective way. It was far more effective than you think. You'll see that at the Battle of San Pascual in the 1840s. But it was a cheap way to arm yourself and used properly in the right cavalry configurations. It was an effective weapon. It's similar to the Comanche because it's like you're looking at single shot pistols right here. So once your enemy is fired, you can get in close and you don't have to be that close for a 14-foot, 12-foot lance to work. It's reported to be more effective than we would imagine. The best example, I think, is San Pasqual for sure. Dan Robertson says, "Good night, Corral. May God bless your trail and hope everyone has a great night." Thank you again, Dan Robertson. Always appreciate you being here, man. Thank you for all the support. Let's see. Okay, got that. I'm looking back and forth with the chat, guys. I feel like Wayne put a lot of scenes in here with him and the leading lady. But now he's saying goodbye to him, bye to her, excuse me. She's saying, "Please don't make me say goodbye." And he's saying, "Get on out of here, girl." Boss. Big alpha energy, guys. Big alpha energy. Liking that so far. He's kind of bummed, but he's like, you know what? You got to do what you got to do. This traveling preacher asks him if he ever prays, and he says, "I never found the time," and walks off. It's like, well, dog, you might wanna find the time. John Wayne has the same walk as Michael Jordan. Anybody else ever notice that? The Mexican blackbird, says Charles Smith. I mean, I could see that. Yeah, she got a very blackbird vibe to her. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. A lot of coonskin caps, guys. I got to tell you, there weren't this many coonskin caps. The Texans see the Tennesseans coming. I like how we have it is a little there's a road coming from the main part of the town to the Alamo. There's a little bit more separation than I think would have really been there. The town wouldn't have been that far away. Travis still ordering everyone around. They're using exaggerations of everyone's character, but this does jibe with historical reports that he's a much more uh, formalized military man. Travis is happy to see the Tennesseans coming into the Alamo. He says they're crack shots, which they were known, and they had the Tennessee rifle, which was a very accurate weapon, especially as we talked about, as in comparison to the Mexican muskets. And the muskets that the Mexican army had were largely very cheap. They were very inaccurate. Now they're kind of talking back and forth. Travis and his second in command are talking. I believe that's Seguin. Are talking back and forth about the differences in the Texian rebels and the Tennesseans, but they are saying that the good thing about the Tennesseans is they are down to fight. It's Bowie and the Tennesseans that are coming in now, and they're kind of talking about how both men are undisciplined brigands of sorts. But the good thing behind that is that they will fight. Were the Mexican muskets British surplus? I don't know, but I would be surprised if they weren't a surplus from somebody. I'd have to look that up. You're seeing a little bit of tension between the militia forces and the forces under Travis and the Tennesseans. But now everyone's coming into the Alamo, joining forces. We do have this one central gate that is the only way into the Alamo, and we're showing families of the volunteers. Yeah, people had their whole families here. We kind of think of it as just soldiers, just militiamen. It's like no, entire families, women and children were here. So good job showing kind of the entire breadth of the story there. We are really driving home this difference between the Texian militia and the Tennesseans. Now Travis is officially welcoming in the Tennesseans to the Alamo as part of the the force combating the Mexicans. He's saying, "Let's give them a cheer for our gallant allies." And they're giving them the hip hip hooray. Honestly, we should bring that back, guys. The hip hip hooray. That kind of gets me fired up. Give them the old three cheers. I like that. Mexican muskets. Okay, I covered that. What's cool is we're seeing a lot of rifle scabbards and fringe leather rifle scabbards. That's a real thing to protect their weapons. If you weren't using it, you'd likely see a rifle in a scabbard because you don't want dirt, grime, all that kind of stuff getting into your mechanisms. One of the wives here is blind. I that could be that could be based in reality, but I don't have any accounts offhand to verify that. We're seeing this kind of thatched palm roof hut behind the guys. Interesting. Now we see, oh, Mexican rider coming into town saying, "Cuidado, cuidado," danger, right? Caution, right? Is that right? Danger, caution, cuidado. Mexican army is coming into town, basically. The citizens of San Antonio are now grabbing all their stuff and jumping inside of their homes. Now we see the Mexican army rolling into town. Very disciplined military force. Seems like literally all of them have Mexican flags, so they're really driving home the point here. We see children and women fleeing from the streets. Nice touch, a burro tied up outside. That's all you would see. That's a good representation of San Antonio in 1836. The soldiers now see the Mexican army coming. We have that's an accurate thing. We got the cannon posted up on the corner nearest to San Antonio. Other than that, the Alamo has very limited artillery. Now we see all of our soldiers taking up positions. These citizens of San Antonio being abused and pushed around. Some of the lancers, they're tying white flags to the ends of their lances. We'll see what comes of this. But they are essentially taking, apprehending the citizens that they believe might be sympathetic to the Texians' cause. This is kind of a much more collected scene than you might have seen in real life. You might see them going house to house and apprehending people that they think might be sympathetic. But generally, their focus was on the Alamo, not necessarily abusing Mexican citizens of San Antonio. I mean, it did happen. I'm just saying their focus was on the Texians and the Alamo. Travis is really taking control as Bowie kind of bristles at this. Even Crockett is kind of like, well, maybe you should chill out for a second. We see an envoy coming from the Mexican army under a white flag of truce to bring a message. The messenger says, "This is from the absolute ruler of Mexico, San Antonio de Ana," basically telling them that you have to get out. The province of Mexico, known as Texas, has shown itself to be an active and treasonous revolt against the rule of Generalissimo Santa Anna. The Generalissimo, in his kindness, issues the following order: all occupants of the mission will leave at once, leaving all arms and ammunition behind. If this order is not followed with this dispatch, the Generalissimo will reduce the mission by assault. There will be no quarter given. And as he's reading, Travis uses his cigar to light the cannon and fires off a shot. I think this is more kind of representative of the Battle of Gonzales, where the Texians had a field cannon. They had been loaned or had been renting from the Mexican government. They were ordered to surrender it. That is where the famous phrase "come and take it." They told the Mexican army to come and take it, and then they fired it upon them and drove them away, and then subsequently hid the cannons. There's a lot of lore as to where the cannons might be today, but the Texians did soundly refuse any order to leave to vacate the city. And now they both look at each other and say, "Travis, just kind of signed our fates here." Now we see more Mexican soldiers marching on the city. We've seen the cavalry element and the lancers make their way into town, and now we're really showing the size of the Mexican army. Even more infantrymen rolling into the city. Travis recognizes them as the Six Veracruz Fusiliers, driving home the point that they are really amassing forces here. Malone Lab says engineer. That's the Greek translation for come and take it from the Battle of Thermopylae, popular with veterans today, certainly. Travis is naming off all the forces that are arriving and saying that the totality of their forces won't be here for another 4 or 5 days, and that's when the battle will actually commence. He's talking to Seguin and kind of summing up the situation. All right, Bowie's taking in the situation from the wall, and he's saying more troops are arriving every hour. This is very accurate. They had to just sit in the Alamo and just watch thousands of troops roll in, and now they're talking practically to each other. And Bowie's saying, we're not going to be able to stand up against this whole army. And Travis has really gotten us into a hell of a pickle here. Davey seems relatively unsure of what he's going to do next. Because at this point, they are not under the assumption or under the impression that they are going to be in a fight to the death and that they're going to be sacrificing their lives to in a last bid in the Alamo. Nobody thinks that right now. They're not here thinking like, oh, we're going to give our lives yet. They're thinking we're down to fight, but they're not thinking that this is a sacrificial mission. We see more Texians and Tennesseans riding in. This could be scouts. This happened a lot where you'd see small contingents of scouts that were out trying to reconnoiter the area or take messages out, being chased back into the building by Mexican cavalry. So they couldn't get out. They couldn't go anywhere. Are you guys here to fix the stucco? Yeah. They're doing a good job of showing the Alamo as being relatively dilapidated. They're doing a good job of showing the entire compound. It's a sizable compound behind the actual Alamo front itself. So now we have one of the scouts drawing out an outline in the dirt. So he's talking about, I believe, the Mexican Lancers and saying that their lances are 14 feet long. He's telling Crockett and Bowie about what he's found out on his scout. And then Travis tells him, you need to report to me. Oh, the scout is reporting there's a 14-foot cannon. He's saying they have so much more artillery than we do. We have no chance here. Travis is telling him there is no cannon that large. He's saying this guy's exaggerating. Then it shoots right back to the giant Mexican cannon that he had just talked about, and it blows up a big section of the wall. This is their only defense. Once a wall gets blown down, they have to repair it, or they're going to get taken over. We're at, let's see, 124. All right, guys, this is a long one, so I might have to pause it in a couple minutes and take a quick bathroom break. You know what I mean? Kind of hard up against it right now. All right, now we see the Alamo firing back. And I believe that would have to be the northwest corner. And their artillery has momentarily driven the Mexicans back. But Travis is obviously just hell bent on this kind of in this movie at least, hell bent on this kind of sacrificial glory mission. Oh no, they've blown up the keg of whiskey. Everyone's really bummed out. Fair enough. The guy who's named Irish is very upset that they've blown up the keg of whiskey. Stereotypes sometimes exist for a reason, I guess. I'm Irish. We can joke about that, right? There's like three different. John Wayne he must have hat cases everywhere because he has three or four different hats every movie. Now he's got this black felt number. I mean, they look good, but there's a bunch of different hats. He's had three hats already. If you rattle your keyboard, we'll think you're typing. I need like a robot to keep typing here. Seems like Travis is being portrayed as incompetent, misreading the situation several times. What's the real story? No, he wasn't incompetent. I think he was just, uh, you know, willing. I think he was willing to give his life way before a lot of the other guys were. And he saw this as kind of a redemptive mission. He figured if he could die here, he could die with honor. Because otherwise, he had left a wife and child back in the South. He was in extreme debt. He thought this might be a way to repair his reputation, which seems a little crazy to us today, but your reputation, especially back then, was everything. It's nighttime. We're seeing some more riders come back in, and as we're going, now we're seeing the intensity ratchet up. Every scene, we're seeing more and more desperation on the Texians' part. The Seguin character is doing a good job of kind of conveying this growing sense of dread and uncertainty with Travis's orders. He's going to eventually be sent out on this basically impossible reinforcement mission. Seguin was really a brave guy. Now they show him leading a contingent outside of the Alamo, right up against the Mexican forces, which is this is nuts. I mean, this happened, and this took some guts. Now you'll see they're not going to capture the cannon; they're going to disable it. They'll stuff it with mud, anything they have. Oh, see, they're going to stuff it with mud. I mean, like this is gutsy. And it's a really simplistic but genius solution. It's just like, well, you can't blow the cannon up. You can't take it with you. Just incapacitate it. Josh McAllister, what's up, man? This movie shows Seguin more than I thought. Shows Juan Seguin more than I remembered it showing. Good costume still though. Guys in serapes, guys in coonskin caps. One of the Scotsmen is in a Scottish beret. Great. Now they fire the cannon, disable it. Very cool. This is the 1960 John Wayne Alamo, Josh McAllister, and we are on minute. We're coming up. We're 30 seconds away from minute 129. Almost 129 exactly. Now we have an engagement with the Mexican soldiers. Things are getting hot pretty quick. Now they have to get back into the Alamo. Bowie would not have been on these missions. He was, like we said, borderline incapacitated, maybe beyond, maybe incoherent at this point. By the time of the battle, most of the accounts have him completely bedridden, which I believe we'll see later, but incapacitated in the days leading up to the battle. Very, very sick. Terry R, what's up? Good to see you. Charles Smith, what's up? Rourke's Drift is such a good story. Yeah, I did a Rourke's Drift episode. It didn't take off like I wanted it to. We should do a live stream on it. I feel for that dude when he was at the Wild West shows. Yeah, I opened the episode with the guy being at the Wild West show and kind of having a bit of a PTSD, struggle. Good scene here. It wouldn't be this much fire. It'd be a little bit more of a small scale engagement. It's showing, oh man, I'm gonna say 30 to 50 guys here. You're looking at smaller groups of guys going out, probably in the 5 to 10 men range, and we're showing Bowie here. The last guy rushing into the fort, he wouldn't have been in any shape to do any of this. It looks like maybe he's going to be incapacitated from falling off a horse in this movie, which is I don't know, we'll have to see where this goes. I'm a little confused where they're going with Bowie. Now we've got one of the young men getting fretted over by his young wife. He just knows chicks dig scars. He's like, "I'm fine. I'm good. I'm gonna pour some whiskey on it." Oh, that's Frankie Valli. They pour some whiskey on it and he passes out. Good scene. Good scene. Adding a little levity to this growing tension. And they are making a point to show Travis and having a slave who is said to have like been in the battle and fought kept fighting after Travis was shot down. Travis was shot down in like the opening minutes of the battle, just like right through the forehead. Josh McAllister says, "Oh, the Rourke's Drift. Yeah, I thought Rourke's Drift was a good episode, man. It was a long one too. It was over half an hour. We are doing a good job though of showing everything inside the Alamo compound. We've got wagons, supplies, ammunition, corrals, construction supplies. We see logs there. And now everyone's costumes are getting progressively dirtier, progressively more tattered, and everyone's attitude is becoming more serious. Seeing a real moment of tension here between Bowie and Travis. Travis is saying, "I've had enough insubordination." This was just much more of this. Travis was more in control by this point, but only because Bowie was, like I said, incapacitated. So we're seeing a real divisiveness that may not be entirely accurate, but it's there to drive home the point of Travis being a spit and polish military man, and many of his Texian volunteers and many of the Tennessean volunteers not being of that ilk. And once again, kind of playing a middleman here. Frankie Valli in this movie never knew that. Yeah, he's I don't know the name of the character, but he's relatively prominent. He's a young defender of the Alamo. And Travis has this odd British affectation to his accent, which I think just drives home his um, more spit and polish nature and his roots in a more maybe civilized background. Though Bowie wasn't a complete ruffian, he just had a rough reputation. Well, he was, but he wasn't from a poor background. Now everyone in the Alamo is against Travis, even the slave here, which is unfortunate, but also a real a means of really showing how everyone in the Alamo is becoming less and less enamored with Travis's leadership. We could say, yeah, if you're just arriving here, the link for the movie is at the top. And close the poll so it's easier to find. If you are not in America, you may have trouble streaming it, but it's available on several streaming services. And if you are just starting, let me know. Ask me where we're at when you have the movie running, and I'll let you know where we are so you can catch up. We're doing a lot of drawing in the dirt with sabers and weapons so far, which I think is leading up to our final, possibly fictional scene, likely fictional scene of Travis drawing a line in the sand and telling anyone who plans on staying to step across the line. So Travis is painting his intentions here as buying time for Sam Houston to assemble his men back in the east of Texas. So the longer we can hold the Alamo, the more time we're buying Sam Houston to come in and combat Santa Anna's army. And it's likely that he will have the numbers to do so. They're really showing this enmity between Travis and Bowie that is not necessarily realistic. Now, this is a good quick breakdown of Crockett's history. He's saying, I never fought anybody but Indians and some of the British. He's talking about in the Creek War and in his exploits on the frontier. He says, I'm an easy forgiver at times. Good night. So we're trying to work something out, trying to come to some sort of agreement. Now we see the men growing more and more pensive, more and more worried. Because this is an important point that they did not come here for, we have to use the words self deletion instead of the other word. You know what I'm saying? But they did not come here for a self deletion mission. They came here to seize and then hold the Alamo until Houston's reinforcements arrived. Now we're showing Bowie in his quarters, which is where he spent the vast majority of his time throughout these days. It's interesting that he's suffering from tuberculosis in real life, but constantly smashing cigars all the way through this movie. So Bowie's saying he's going to leave, and Crockett's saying he's not. No record of this happening, but Crockett's basically planning on getting Bowie drunk and changing his mind. Okay, let's see, where are we at? I'm going to pause for a second, guys. I got to hit the bathroom or this is going to be a disaster. So give me like 2 minutes. I will return. Just 1 second. Sorry. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Absolutely necessary. That was an emergency. Had to do it. Had to talk. All right. Yeah. Let's talk about them all real quick. Okay. Okay. I get it. Okay. Here we go. Starting back up in 3, 2, 1. We are at 136. 137. Sorry. We're at 137. All right. Everyone is waking up in the morning. Sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience. I appreciate that. It had to be done. All right. Now we have our military man waking up all of our volunteers. Oh, they seem to be pretty hungover. Hung ski, as we call it in California. Big time hung ski. That's got to be terrible to hear if you're not from California, right? That's so obnoxious. Let's see. I'm just checking the chat real quick. I'm sure everyone's relatively upset with me, understandably so. But you guys, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah, everyone's pretty hungover. John Wayne's pretty hung ski. But I think we've convinced Jim Bowie to stay. I mean, imagine that. Imagine getting drunk and then agreeing to stay at the Alamo. And you wake up hungover and they're like, guess what, bro? You got to stay and fight the Mexican army to the death. You're like, what? 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 What do you mean? You think it's bad to like look at your text messages that you sent last night. Imagine being told you got to stay at the Alamo now. Let's see. P break is a good reminder. Oh, P break is a good reminder to like the stream, says Jake Skywalker. Yes, yes. Who else brings you such reality in real time? I'd take you guys with me, but I think that'd be censored. Crockett's coming in to see Bowie. He's got a bucket full of cold water. I love this Old West hangover cure. I don't ever want to experience it, but it's hilarious. He throws a bucket of cold water on Bowie. Bowie wakes up, kicks the bucket. This is a rough morning, guys. He's like, great. I'm gonna have to stay at the Alamo. I'm gonna have to die. And now I'm hungover. The worst of all possible options. Now Crockett's got the coonskin cap back on. We're seeing Frankie Valley all stitched up. It's like, congratulations, dog. You got your arm fixed. Now you can die with the rest of us. How old is Frankie Valley here? This is like 19. Well, it's 1960. He's not that old. And then they're asking Bowie to tell Frankie Valley some tales from the frontier. It's like, well, don't make this guy who's hungover tell stories about gutting people, you know? I'm really surprised that they have him. I guess this is to use Bowie as a vehicle character, but I mean, by the like, I can't emphasize how bad off he was at this point. I hate working hungover. I couldn't hold the Alamo. Seriously, dude. I mean, this is all largely fiction. During these preceding days to the actual attack, it was just constant work, constant labor. Now Bowie's volunteers are trying to leave, and he's telling them, "You're not going anywhere." Which I'd be like, "Well, screw you, bro. You stink of whiskey. You're not telling me what to do." Interesting saddles here, where the saddle horn is super wide and flat, like a very. It's indicative of it still being a Mexican area because the very like Spanish style saddle. Oh, Bowie punches Wayne. I like the days when guys could just punch each other. You know what I mean? One punch, we'll settle things up. Bowie says, like, you try to make a fool out of me, you got me wasted. That's a fair punch, guys. It's a fair punch for that water bucket thing. And Crockett knows it. All right. These are guys who Chads, you know? He's saying, well, how about another drink? All right, hair of the dog, hair of the dog. Imagine just you know what? If I was stuck in the Alamo though, yeah, I'd probably just drink all the whiskey they got. Now we're to a night scene. We're seeing a someone's coming up to the walls. Now it's a Mexican citizen or a soldier. It looks like a citizen from San Antonio who says, "This is a message for Jim Bowie," and he throws a sombrero up over the walls. No account of this actually happening, but we'll see. The sentries at the wall throw the hat down to Bowie. We'll see what the message to Bowie says. Very strange. Crockett says, well, maybe Santa Anna's surrender, and they have a little chuckle. Bowie is clearly horrified at whatever he's reading. Let's see what he's reading, guys. Everyone still has their rifles in sheaths. I don't know about that at this point. Bowie's very upset. He's running off. Well, I don't know what's happened here. Maybe he got a letter telling him he got tuberculosis. His insurance company finally got back to him. He's like, can you believe these premiums? Look at the copay. I get it, Bowie. I get it, bro. He's like crying over the copay. I get it, dog. Crockett says, what news did you get? Bowie says, I never knew the night could be so dark. And it's like, oh, take a breath, bro. You know what I mean? Oh, I think he's found out that his wife has passed away. Something. Yep, his wife passed away. And it's like, well, good news, bro. Like, you know, that's not good news, but you're not gonna be here long anyways. Born in 1962 in Bowie, Texas, I always listen to anything about the Alamo. Sherry Dorman, can you tell us if it's Bowie or Bowie? I know it could be different with the guy and with the name. That's just how Texas is. But how do you pronounce it? Bowie or Bowie? No matter what I say, people seem to think that's not the right way. They kept their rifles in those to keep them from being exposed to the dirt and elements as such. No, I know, Josh McAllister. I'm just saying, with combat imminent, like at this point, an attack could happen at any time. I don't know if they'd have them sheathed up like that, but you're right. They could. They could. There is seriously lots of dust, and anything corrupting the mechanics of that firearm will really hamper it. That's just my guess. Is they wouldn't have them, a lot of them, in their sheaths right now. Totally open to being wrong on that, though. I do find it. I don't know. My only bone to pick so far is using Bowie like this, but he's really a counterweight to Crockett in this movie. True, but everybody's asleep at the moment. Around them, yeah, but did you see that one guy that was behind Bowie and Crockett that it was on guard but had his rifle sheathed? But that's, like, not a deal breaker. You could just throw the sheath off for sure. Travis comes up and tells Bowie that you've had a communication from outside these walls against my order. Bowie just found out that his wife has died, and he's not real happy to deal with Travis's bull mess right now. Crockett's like, "Whoa, bro, whoa, 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 let's take it easy." And he's telling Travis, like, "I will unalive you, bro." And Crockett's just saying, "Hold on, take a breath. Save it for Santa Ana." Let's see. None of this. This wasn't real though. To my knowledge, anyways. Now Travis is reading the letter, I believe. Feels like a jerk. All right, well, this adds a little humanity to Travis, though. He's like, "Oh, okay, bro. Like, my bad, my bad on this one." I think he's going to apologize. Hope, please accept my most profound sympathy. All right, that's pretty good. He says, "Oh, that was my bad. I shouldn't have disturbed you, man." He said, "You can call me on the field of honor at a later date." He's saying, like, "Yeah, you can call me out for a pistol duel. Let's not do it right now, but you're entitled to that. My bad." All right, so he's a man of honor, of some sort. He's like, "I get it, man. Times are tough. I'm sorry you lost your wife. If you wanna shoot me later, that's okay. Let's just not do it right now." Bowie says, "Travis, you can't help being you, and I can't help being me." A lot of philosophy from Jim Bowie here. I don't know if he's that much of a philosophical guy. That's no shade on Bowie. I'm just saying, like, he wasn't that much of a philosophical guy. You're not gonna be famous for a giant knife and your philosophy bent. There we go. All right, we're seeing one of a morning shortly preceding the battle. We're getting closer and closer, and we're seeing the tension on everyone's face grow, the pensiveness. We are seeing a variety of characters inside the Alamo, old and young. They'd be majorly in their mid 20s to mid 30s, but showing an older gentleman here. And we're trading. Oh, we're looking at some of the food supplies. He's smelling some of the salt bacon. And the doctor is telling them that the salt pork is going bad. He's got 32 cases of mild dysentery. I don't know about, I haven't read this either, but certainly this was a concern. They're saying we have 3 or 4 days of rations left. This is true. Ammunition, food, water is all running low, lower and lower as the days progress. And Santa Ana was waiting in the city of San Antonio until he knew they were about as depleted as they were going to get. "I dislike your tone and tude," says Nick Sweetie. "Well, it's an acquired taste, Nick Sweeney, like IPAs or coffee. The sweaty things is yeah, don't sweat the petty things. I know what comes after that." Now we have the men wading through the San Antonio River. Good scene. I just don't have anything to historically back this up. Good scene though. Now we see the citizens of San Antonio having a flamenco dance of sorts. Pretty cool, guys. Pretty cool party town. I'm digging that. We don't have I don't have any accounts of them wading through the river like this, and all of the parties that are venturing outside of the walls are much larger than they would have been in real life. We're looking at like 20, 30 guys here. Maybe 20 guys here. Man, bear, pig doesn't like your face. Are you super serial, Nick Sweeney? Man, bear, pig. All right, Travis is calling Seguin to the side and telling his men to get ready to mount up. It's a half hour till daybreak. So we're every day is drawing nearer to the battle, and everyone's getting more and more worried. Great job showing that. I don't know where Crockett is leading this scouting party to. Right, they're coming up on the Mexican guards, taking them out. There's no evidence that I know of this. Looks good in a movie, but you're actually going and silently taking out the guards and coming across the bridge is not going to really work terribly well. Just had a thought. The guy wearing the cavalry coat, Alamo was 1836, first cavalry were it's tough for me to say. The first U.S. cavalry were the U.S. were the why is this so hard for me to say? First U.S. cavalry were the first dragoons in 1833 who went on an expedition on the southern plains with Colonel Dodge. So maybe he's one of those guys. Uh, my friends think he's AI, but they're old. Either everything is or nothing is AI to them. Are you saying they think I'm AI? A lot of people did, but I am not AI. Yeah, I don't have any. This is a cool scene, but I don't have anything to historically verify the, this actual scouting party attack. Where I believe they're going and absconding with a number of cattle because they need some food. Yeah, driving this number of cattle back over a bridge is just not going to happen. Silently in the middle of the night, we're not going to do it. It's not happening. Darest thee thou to mock man, bear, pig, says Nick Sweeney. Never, Nick Sweeney. I wouldn't perish the thought. Man, bear, pig, cursest thee to stutter and mumble. Dude, he might have. Okay, that might have happened. That might have happened. That might have happened. I was having a tough time there for a second. We're stealing horses. We're stealing cattle here. Now, Frankie Valley wants to stop and ask a question right now. Like maybe time and a place, dude. John Wayne says, "You're smarter than a beekeeper and you can swim better than a gambler." I don't know what that means, but I like it. And they're kind of talking him up, saying, like, yeah, yeah, we trust you, bro. We trust you. I mean, they're not that convincing to me. They're sending him off as a lone messenger, I believe. They're saying, you can do it, kid. Go for it. Maybe a good move. Send the kid out first. See if he makes it. He's going to Houston. He's going to go for reinforce. Okay, so the kid is taking the place of Juan Seguin, it looks like. They're taking out all these uh, Mexican soldiers with knives. It's a very Metal Gear kind of mission here. Sadly, again, nothing to back this up, but it's a good scene. Let's see. Let's see. The guy with the cavalry coat, the dragoon coat, Josh McAllister says this means he would have been on that trip to see the Comanches, the Kiowa, the Wichita, the Caddos, the Osages, and more. And George Catlin was with them as well. If he was wearing that coat, he would have been on that trip theoretically. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Wayne or the producers of the film to sneak that detail in. because we take a lot of dramatic liberty, but a lot of the little details of the story they get right. A lot of the dress and a lot of the characters that they're putting in here. Wow, $20 super chat from Terry R. Thank you so much. No matter how many times we hear the story of the Alamo, it's fascinating. America's equivalent to the Battle of Thermopylae. Thanks for the great movie nights. Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for watching. We talked about before this started how it's relatively in vogue for nerds trying to sell books, and I don't mean bear with me in using the term nerds, right? I mean malicious nerds, but it's in vogue now to say the book that came out, "Forget the Alamo." And it's like, no, no, no. This was an incredible stand. It was, in fact, a very small force, a very large force, and they knew they weren't going to make it. It's just a pot shot to sell books, a mid-wit pot shot, I would say. And if the author of that book is watching and would like to debate my points, you're more than welcome to come on the show. Austria, yeah, we're showing them essentially do a large scale cattle drive. This wasn't even really a thing. This is like an 1870s cattle drive. Not to say they didn't move cattle, but this notion of a bunch of cowboys driving cattle through the middle of town is much more of an affectation of days to come. This is 40 years in the future, largely. This scene in general, it alludes more to the scene from the 1870s cattle drive. But this is them resupplying themselves with food. So I got like this, I don't know. This seems like a touch unneeded. We're seeing the Mexican army giving chase. I do like how we're showing the expansiveness of the compound. It's not this tiny little compound. We're showing the soldiers of the Texans Texans setting up a firing line. Bro, Nick Sweeney, Man Bear Pig really did come after me. He hit me with the stuttering curve, dude. Now we're seeing the Texans firing and retreating. There's zero chance they got all those cattle through that door in one fell swoop, guys. I know this part didn't really happen, but zero chance that ever happened. Good scene, though. It's effective to show they're resupplying themselves. We got this mound in the middle of the compound. I believe that's accurate. But this notion of, like, ranks of Texans going outside the walls and firing and then retreating back, in my understanding, they wouldn't have even been trained to do this. But it does show Travis's, traditional military operating style. So, just like Braveheart, I'm willing to cut them a lot of slack if they're using these scenes to illustrate the overall story or illustrate a piece of a character of a character's, character or their temperament, what have you. But, yeah, this is largely fictional. But so far, guys, fan of the movie, this is good so far. If you have any questions, hit me with them in the chat, and I'll try to I'm going back and forth between the movie and the chat. These are largely Texas Longhorns that they've brought in here. Some of them with weird brands on them. I don't know, they're kind of this, like, weird hybrid looking Longhorn in some instances. Am I wrong? Anybody know cattle? That's a weird looking Longhorn to me. Kinda like Watusi looking. So they're cutting up big slabs of beef. Honestly, it looks really good. They're on the carnivore diet. We're really driving home this six-barrel shotgun. I have nothing to validate the veracity of that, but it's a good prop. Now we see the Mexican army coming again, women and children scattered to their quarters. There are quarters. You'll see over here on the left-hand side, there are quarters, and we're not overrun by the Mexicans during the fight. I believe most, if not all, of the women and children were spared. But also critically, there's a supply room, an ammunition room on the left-hand side, I believe, too, that holds all of the gunpowder Have you ever been to the Alamo and toured it? Says Pet Detectives. I've been to the Alamo, but not on an official tour. I walked around it with my buddy. It's a heavy place to go to. It's surrounded by all manner of trendy restaurants and shops now. It's right in downtown San Antonio, so it's a very happening place. But once as soon as you walk inside the grounds, it's heavy. It's just a heavy place. Now we're seeing the multitudes of Mexican soldiers marching on the city. I believe we're looking at an attacking force of 1,500, 1,200 Mexican soldiers. That's probably what we're seeing here, but against 180 defenders of the Alamo, not counting the women and children. And there were several envoys sent out by Santa Anna. So this sending emissaries to deliver messages or negotiate was a real. And even at this point, the Texans are not operating under the certainty that they're going to die here. The Mexican emissaries are coming in and saying, "Let the women and children out, take care of them, but you can't leave them here to fight to the end with you. Like, we're giving you the opportunity to evacuate the women and children. You have 1 hour to send them out. We'll give them transport and protection. We'll take them anywhere that they wanna go." Honestly, generous terms, right? So what do you say to that? And the Texans all look at each other. Travis says, "My compliments to the general. We will evacuate our non-combatants." And this kind of gentlemanly warfare was a thing of the 1830s. I mean, the business of it was gentlemanly. The practice of it was brutal. Travis says, "Single men remain at your post. Married men arrange transport for your wives and children." It was rough being a single guy back then, guys. It was rough. It's not easy nowadays, but it was pretty rough. How large was the city of San Antonio at the time? I think just a couple thousand people. Let's see. I have a question, says Nick Sweeney. Why would one rather to send in, for example, a super chat of 19.99 rather than $20? I don't know. I think that's what they offer. I think that you just get choices, right? But if Terry R wants to save the penny, then save the penny, man. We're just grateful we get anything in here. Terry R says, I donated 19.99, so I would save a penny for Nick Sweeney's thoughts. Well, that goes a long way, Terry R. Thank you. So this blonde lady is saying, "Well, my I'm a soldier's wife, and my child is a soldier's child, so we'll stay." And it's like, lady, get out of here. TTFO. And Juan Seguin, who is his place has been taken by Frankie Valley, so he's still at the Alamo. It's just curious to me. Um, he says, "Well, I'm proud of you, sweetheart." And I'd be like, "Listen, GTFO, okay? GTFO RN. Get the F out right now." Okay, now we're seeing Seguin leave the Alamo under a flag of truce. Oh, he's leading the women and children out. I believe there's a scene here where this lady chews out her husband. Now, one of the single men says, "I don't have a wife to tell a goodbye to. Can I tell you goodbye?" And the lady says, "Sure. We're gonna have to simp tax that guy, guys. I know he's having a rough time. You're stuck in the Alamo. You're not gonna make it out, but a simp tax is a simp tax. I'm sorry. We have a zero tolerance policy here at HOKC." "What time you at?" Jake Skywalker says. "We are right at 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 40 seconds on the dot." Let's see. I'm checking the chat real quick. Got that. Okay. I think we're caught up. So this man's blind wife is telling him, "Go on and stay here and do the best you can." I would say, "Absolutely, I will." And then I would, hop on the back of the wagon where she couldn't see me. I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. And he's saying, "Listen, I can't stay here. You can't make me stay here and die with these jokers. Look at these people. Like, I know you can't see, but, like, I can't stay here. I can't stay here with these guys. Look how they're dressed. These are crazy people. Travis is saying, like, "Listen, bro, I need you to stay, but you don't have to stay if you don't want to. If your family needs you, then go ahead." Bowie says, "Go ahead, dog. We understand." He says, "Listen, I can't leave my blind wife here." Oh, this lady's now she's piping up and saying, "Listen, don't tell my husband to leave." And it's like, "Listen, listen, shut up, huh?" I'll be like, "Listen, shut up, lady." Bowie says, "Get on out of here with your wife." And his wife says, "Shut up. He's going to stay here and die." Lady, lady, shut up. Oh, real easy for you to volunteer him, right? She says, "Oh yeah, he's not fancy educated like you, Travis, and he's not a famous guy like you, Crockett." So he said, "I know. He's an uneducated idiot loser. Please let him stay here and die with these other weirdos." Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but please let him stay here and die. And it's like, well, guys, I would bail. I'm like, shut up, lady. I'm not saying sorry, I shouldn't say they're weirdos. I'm just saying, like, come on. There's a lot of coonskin caps here. Don't make me stay here with the coonskin cap guys. That knock volley gun was a smoothbore musket that fired 7 balls the size of your thumb at once. The knock volley gun? What's that? Fired 7 balls the size of your thumb at once. Is that Bowie's weapon? The end is sad. Yeah, this isn't a happy ending film, certainly. This isn't a happy ending film. So far, though, I'm liking it, guys. I like it. And it's hard not to honestly, it's hard not to get emotional talking about the Alamo. I mean, come on. If you don't get a little emotional talking about the Alamo, then I don't know what to tell you. You're kind of a wuss. Because this is real. Like these guys did, some of them said goodbye to their families, some of the families stayed. And as it gets closer, and they're showing the certainty of these guys a little early. These guys didn't, it's a matter of some conjecture, but these guys probably didn't know that it was a done deal for them yet. Maybe it's starting to really sink in. But before the battle started, some people will say, "Oh, they thought they could win. They didn't know they were going to get run over." I believe they did. It wouldn't be numerically impossible to defend that position with 180 guys, but the defenses were falling apart, the walls were falling apart. I think they knew they weren't going to make it. I know it's dramatized for the movie, says Terry R, but the very base of it, I can only imagine all those people staying in real life. Yeah, just flat out laying it all on the line. I'm humbled to say the least. Yeah, it's a real thing. And you can imagine everyone wants to say they think they'd stay or, uh, whatever, but you don't know what you would do till you were there. And 180 guys said, like, no, we're not going anywhere. That's that's wild. That was a real eagle feather in his hat. Cool. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's endangered and stuff, but like, swaggy. As far as I'm aware, the Mexican uniforms are pretty accurate. Oh, are we seeing the actual advance now? Oh, I think this is one of the preliminary advances. The actual charge didn't start till early in the morning. Let's see what we're looking at here. There was days and days of cavalry of uh, artillery barrages too, to weaken the walls. So it wasn't one massive attack. It was days and days of letting their supplies run out, of laying siege to the Alamo, weakening the walls, just cannonball after cannonball, and it makes the guys inside work and reconstruct. So they're on low rations. They're working all the time. They may have slept 3 or 4 hours before the actual battle began. It's a horror show. It's terrible. "I wouldn't have thrown a good husband away," says Happy Cappy. Yeah, that lady seemed like really, really insistent that her husband stay there and die. A little, like, disconcertingly so. Am I wrong on that? Like, she really is like, "Listen, if the guy wants to stay, he can stay, but don't force him to stay. Don't shame him into staying." What do we call that now, like Alamo shaming? Don't Alamo shame. They do have the cannons lined up on the front wall, that's good. but they're really showing how oh, wow, they're really showing the walls being, um, torn apart by artillery fire. One of the old guys is buried in rocks, that's not good. He seems like kind of okay. Bowie seems to have been injured by a cannonball. To my understanding, Bowie would be pretty much be relegated to his room by this point in real life. We're seeing a substantial resistance, though, put forth by the Texans against this initial charge. I believe this is still a preliminary charge. We'll have to see, though, because the battle took place in the morning. So I'm a little confused chronologically where we're at. Seeing a bit of a tacit advance by the Mexican army. Now they're retreating. I do believe this is one of the preliminary charges, and as they drive them back, they do, have flashes of hope that they may be able to actually drive the Mexican army off. But we'll see this quickly deteriorate into kind of a resignation, I believe. They being as in them being resigned to their fates. The White Feather Girls, says Engineer Wright, during World War One, they had a group of women or an organization of women that would go around towns and would hand white feathers out to young men that had not yet served in the military, with literally shaming them into service. If you were handed a white feather, it was essentially being called a coward. All right, now we got some of the wounded being taken care of. I'm not aware of an Alamo surgeon, but this is indicative of how medical care or battlefield surgery would have gone at the time. Now we show some of the Mexican women mourning their dead. That's an odd crossing. I've never seen that. The Mexican army dead are being loaded into wagons and carried off. This is close to true. Like there was a lot of preliminary charges and artillery attacks. So you'd see this advance and withdrawal from the Mexican army over the days preceding the actual final attack. Serious question for the chat. Who first started calling me Manberry Pig? Was it Neek Seat Roan? I don't know. I thought you started that yourself. Maybe I'm mistaken. At least Super Grunt says that is based. What's based? Which part? All right. Now we've all weathered the first attack inside of the Alamo. Okay, now this seems where they're going with Bowie. He's injured. I guess this is a way to keep him kind of cogent, coherent throughout the film. Seguin is informing Travis that morale is still high, but they have 22 KIA and several more wounded. So they're kind of discussing the preliminary attack. The guy who was too afraid to stay is kind of hanging out in the background. It's like, bro, maybe it is better to be here than deal with that wife then if she's so insistent on you staying here and dying. Travis is saying that Fannin will be here with 500 men to reinforce them. They still continually believe that reinforcements are on the way. Until almost the last night, they believe reinforcements are coming. Now I believe we're seeing another scout ride in. This might be Patrick Wayne. That's Patrick Wayne. And immediately after Travis says that the Fannin men are coming, Patrick Wayne rides in and says that Fannin and all of his men have been taken out. I am not. You know what? Let me look that up. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, it failed due to logistical failures in real life. I wasn't sure about that. Which I mean, it seems like 80% of war is logistic, and the other 20% is sheer terror. I think Houston did that on purpose. I've heard that as to like kind of hang the Alamo out there as a sacrifice. Speaking of running gags, someone is suspicious absent last night. I'm not sure. For real, the defenders thought they'd be relieved until the last night. Not, I don't know if it's literally the last night, but until just a few days before the actual last attack. I think we're at the scene now where Travis is going to draw a line in the sand here. This, I believe, is apocryphal. I personally don't think this actually happened, but it's representative of the actual commitment of the men who stayed. He's saying, any men who want to leave here, you can leave with all honor. Which is that, I mean, like, that's really letting you go. That's really giving you a pass, especially in the 19th century. Space Cowboy, Merry Christmas, man. I think Houston knew the Alamo was going to be indefensible, says Happy Cappy. It's a possibility because the Fannin Brigade was not wiped out. It was logistical failures, which could mean a lot of things. But it's completely feasible that they ran into several logistical failures moving from Houston to San Antonio. I think one man ends up leaving. I believe I forget his name, but one man did leave, which kind of like, yeah, in the annals of Texas history, that guy is harshed pretty hard. They always talk about the one guy who left. Yeah, except for the guy with the blind wife, he didn't get a pass. I know. It's like, bro, we've given you multiple chances here. Whatever happens, happens. Again, no historical account of the guy with the blind wife that I'm aware of. So, but it is really interesting. They are showing Bowie incapacitated by a leg wound, and he is the first to join Colonel Travis on his side. So he's saying, I know we didn't get along, but I'm with you. And that clearly really means something to Travis. And this is an interesting scene. The next to join is it appears to be he's cast as Travis's slave here, but he was entirely loyal all throughout the battle. And a very hard to understand dynamic for us today, certainly. That woman, says Happy Cappy. I know, right? I understand it's meant to show a woman's courage in this instance, but it really looked like you just want your husband to stay and die. Like maybe you have I don't know, you have a boyfriend in Houston or something. I don't know. Like what's going on here? Now everyone is joining Travis's side. Again, a likely apocryphal story, but makes a great movie scene. Super effective scene. And then it shows Travis on one side of, excuse me, shows Bowie on one side of Travis and Crockett on the other. Super effective way of showing everyone was willing to stay. Checking the chat real quick. So now we're seeing Frankie Valley out on what would have been Juan Seguin's mission. So this is a curious turn. So he's looking for General Sam Houston. He's carrying a message to Houston from the Alamo. He's meeting a force of Texians who are with Sam Houston and taking a message directly to him. I like the setup. I like the background. Very Texas backgrounds in all of this. Nice camp. The what are those called? The single man tents. I forget the name of them. We got some guys fishing in the creek, but the guys like they're in a military camp. This is a nice military camp setup. People drying their laundry. People making coffee. The general's tent, nice large canvas tent. They're telling Frankie Valley to take a break, and he says, "Here's the message. I got to get back to the Alamo." I was like, "Well, maybe have a cup of coffee." So Houston is receiving the message from the Alamo. Nice fancy beaded gun belt. I like that. Nice swag. A nice setup though. I like the setting here. This couldn't have been easy to do. A camp on both sides of the river. So this will be indicative to Happy Cappy's point that Houston may have let it happen. So he's saying the Alamo is not going to get reinforcements. We learned that yesterday. And now he's saying, I'm finding out from the Alamo now they are surrounded and we can't help them. He says, now when the rest of these guys start to whine and bellyache, you tell them that there are 185 of their friends, their neighbors, and their fellow Texicans. They're holed up in a crumbling adobe church down on the Rio Bravo. Well, it's not about, and they're buying them precious time. Here, they know that the fate of the Alamo defenders is all but assured. Houston has a kind of Cherokee-looking leather jacket on, which is a nice touch. He lived with the Cherokee for years. What happened in White's settlement? Not sure. I don't know what that means. Can you clarify that a little bit, Charles Smith? Because I can try to answer it. Not only did the Americans become Mexican citizens, they also had to convert to Catholicism. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier in the film. A big ask. That's a big ask for almost exclusively Protestant Americans coming west. But it is true. Kit Carson himself converted to Catholicism. Largely nominally, I think, for a lot of these people, but that was a big deal, especially then. Now we're seeing the women and children that are left in the Alamo being quartered in the furthest most quarters, farthest inside of the compound. If you're looking at the Alamo from the front, the Alamo front itself, they'd be on the left-hand side, furthest back. What happened to the white settlement just outside of Fort Worth? I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. I might know, but it's not coming to my front of my mind right now. Yeah, Seguin is still here. That's interesting. So used for some kind of another vehicle to tell the story, but in real life, he would have been gone already on his own, like gone for reinforcements and dangerous. He would have been where Frankie Valley is now. It's just interesting they switched those two out. And now is when Jim Bowie would be reportedly almost incoherent and confined to his bed. Now we're seeing the men all resigned to their fate. Most of them are not sleeping. That was pretty realistic. They would largely be working right now. They'd be hauling dirt, putting up posts, reinforcing the walls. Jim Bowie smoking a cigar outside of his room. He would have been almost assuredly bedridden. Otherwise, you just have a lot of guys contemplating how they got here and contemplating the fight to come. One of the men asks Davy what he's thinking about, and Davy says, I'm not thinking, I'm just remembering. Now all the men are kind of recollecting their lives, knowing the end is near. They're kind of having this confessional moment on all their prior sins. And they're worrying. One of the Irish guy is worrying that St. Pete will slam the door to heaven in his face. Another guy kind of has a more atheist bent on it, saying there is no afterlife. He's saying that's bunkum and bosh. Another man, the guy whose blind wife forced him to say, says there is an afterlife. Interesting, like little theological discussion here right before uh, before they meet their end. Who, I mean, this may have happened. We don't have first-hand accounts left from these guys. I knew a girl from San Antonio, says Happy Cappy. She was so pretty and blonde. Me too. Travis and the line in the sand moment, says Terry R, is such a cool moment. Something similar probably happened. Yeah, something similar definitely happened. A real pivotal moment in America's history. Yeah, and a pivotal moment in Texas. They were thinking of Texas as its own nation at the time. So They were, in their mind, standing up a whole new country. Yeah, and like haters gonna hate, but that's an amazing thing to do. And their gripes were legitimate. They were almost entirely ignored and mistreated by the Mexican government. So none of a lot of this had to do with Comanche attacks. They weren't being protected from the Comanche attacks. They were being charged ridiculous taxes, embargoes. So they had legitimate gripes. And we're seeing this relationship between. Oh, so in this one, the lone escapee is uh, Bowie's slave, who is slave, or it looks like they're portraying him as a slave of some kind, who Bowie frees in kind of a gesture of uh, magnanimity. Yeah, so he's playing a slave here because he's asking about being a free man, and he's saying, "If I'm free, then I got a right to decide what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stay here and fight," which is admirable, certainly. Pretty hardcore, pretty hardcore. This whole situation, it sinks into our collective consciousness as a uh, seminal moment in American and Texas history and a mythical fight. But make no mistake, this was bad. This was brutal. This was a terrifying moment for the people in the Alamo. It was a terrifying moment for the Mexican soldiers who were about to suffer heavy casualties. We kind of underestimate their side. They were going to have to take scaling ladders, charge the entrenched force of the Alamo, put the ladders up, and then somebody's going to have to go over that wall first, and they're going to have to just keep sending guys on these ladders over the wall. It's a terrifying prospect from their end too. Now we're seeing dawn break. It would be a little before dawn the actual attack started. The Mexican soldiers were surrounding the Alamo, and reportedly one of them just kind of snapped and jumped up and yelled "Viva Mexico!" and then started running and firing a shot. So the battle started a little before the official signal from Santa Ana, and then it was just on. And they'll show as best they can, but this was a brutal, close up, largely hand to hand, close quarters affair. And remember, it's not like one shot, one and done. These guys were getting there is clubbing, there is stabbing, there is choking, there is all of it, all of it. It's all about to go down. You have to salute the people in the Alamo for their absolute bravery, says Pet Detectives. And yes, this is real, and as are the battles that follow. Yeah, this is we look at it as a just like Thermopylae, like, well, this is a heroic stand. It's like, yeah, but it's also 180 guys fighting to the death against thousands of soldiers also fighting to the death. Everyone is terrified. Um, Many casualties on both sides. This is a horrific battle, and they're showing it with the light of day. I think make it easier to film, but this would have all been happening under the cloak of darkness. They've been moving into position and surrounding the Alamo. They're doing a good job at showing the Alamo being surrounded. Certainly, I'm gonna have to research the Mexico 1824 flag. I'm not sure the significance of that. But we're doing a good job showing we're showing some of the hills now. They have limited hills down in Bracketville, at least compared to San Antonio, but we're showing the hills surrounding the Alamo and just thousands of soldiers surrounding them. Very similar to, yes, certainly similar to the Persians at Thermopylae. Thermopylae was a thin pass, and you couldn't be surrounded on it, but you're seeing a similar situation here, and, for all the pomp and circumstance of 19th century warfare, this is, yeah, it's hard to overstate the brutality of it, really. Travis says, "Gentlemen, good luck. Everyone to your battle stations." And yes, we talked about this earlier, the Tennesseans were manning a particularly, uh, weakened corner of the Alamo, and I wanna say it's the northeastern corner, but it's been a couple months since I wrote the episode. Everyone's still getting into position. We are sensing this building of tension. There's a whole brass band with the Mexican army. I don't know the veracity of that. Could have been a ceremonial thing, but I don't think they would march into actual battle formation with them. And again, for full realism, imagine this all happening in the pre-dawn hours, let's say 4 in the morning, 4:35 in the morning. I wondered about that flag too. Yeah, it's one of those things I don't wanna misinform y'all on, and I don't know about that flag yet, so I'll have to look it up. Early morning attacks are preferable because the defenders are usually tired. Yeah, the defenders of the Alamo would have worked all through the night, gotten anywhere from 2, 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep at most. Now we got a nice silence, and one of the men says, "That's a lot of people. That's a lot of soldiers." And they would have known there would be a lot, but you can imagine it's a lot different from thinking theoretically that there's a lot and then actually seeing them. We're not seeing a prominent Santa Anna character here. He's sending a lot of messages, but we're not seeing an actual Santa Anna character as prominently as I would have thought. A la carga, meaning charge. I don't know what adelante means. I'll have to brush up on my Duolingo. What's the new one now? Whatever. All right, we're seeing the attack unfold. In reality, this they would have been formed up like this, but one of the Mexican soldiers did snap in the darkness and just said, "Viva Mexico! Viva Mexico!" and charged. So he just kinda, like, lost his cool. That started the actual battle. Now we're seeing the defenders manning their positions. And we're seeing this kind of dogged march forward, this staggered march forward from the Mexican army. Um, Pretty accurate. I think it's a little bit more of a swarming situation, but they'll advance forward until they are able to put up the scaling ladder. And once they start, um, breaking down the defenses and scaling the walls, it's game over for the defenders. One thing they didn't show in its totality is actually they did a little bit, but the actual days of bombardment before that. So you can see the cannonball strike from the wall there, but um, the defenses were highly compromised by this time. I do like the wicker walls stuffed with mud. That's what they were using to reinforce the walls. But you can see the Mexican army is coming on rapidly, but it is a ferocious fight from the get go, and it's intense. It's just guys reloading and loading, reloading and loading and firing. Guys going down, and you can't save that guy. You got to keep fighting. Who is trying to get into the fight? By this time, it seems like our tier 1 units do the hit in the very early AM, says Nick Citron, very advantageous. Yeah, now they have, night vision, radar, reconnaissance, aircraft, air support, so it works out even better. We're seeing now the defenders are starting to fall. One man, wow, a big chunk of lumber in his back. And we are seeing the Mexican forces, suffer severe casualties. It's true, that's real. Like, the Alamo defenders took out an inordinate amount of soldiers. They fought they fought hard. Alright, now we see the scaling ladders coming. I believe the Texans had men firing and men reloading, so they could continuously fire. One guy reloads, one guy fires. One guy reloads, one guy fires. So you can keep up a relatively constant stream of firing, but it's just growing more and more and more intense. And one guy has to go to the top of the ladder. They're not showing the masses of soldiers that would have been down there because it would have been very much a medieval scaling situation, a medieval castle situation where soldiers are just massing, and then one guy goes up the ladder, another guy goes up the ladder. The Irishman's been stabbed in the stomach. Now we're really seeing things heat up. The cavalry scales the wall. These walls wouldn't have been that short, but they would have been pretty short. And once the Mexican soldiers have infiltrated the outside the perimeter of the walls, things are going to deteriorate quickly. By now, Travis has likely been shot already in the first couple minutes of the battle. We'll see his how he fares in the movie. But the very, very early stages of the battle, Travis is cut down. Bowie is cut down about midway through, but in his quarters. He's reportedly surrounded by soldiers. They don't know who he is, and they just bayonet him. We're kind of combining the artillery, barrages with the charge. They would have held off on the barrage as the soldiers are actually next to the wall. A lot of the artillery would have happened in the days prior to this. You can see the large gaps now being created, soldiers pouring through. Travis is in a sword fight. This didn't happen reportedly. It was just one shot and done. There you go. But it was reportedly a shot to the forehead, so he broke his saber in half. He throws the saber at them. No recollections of this, and then he finally passes away. But it does show him passing away in the early stages of the battle, so that's accurate. Audio is messing with you a little. Can you guys hear me? Audio is messing up. I don't know what to do with that. Try this. Give me a 1 in the chat if the audio is still messing up for you guys. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Is it skipping, lagging? Hmm. Let me try to reload my page real quick. 1 second. If it's still lagging. 1's in the chat if you can hear me now, so I don't get confused. Your lights are usually green on the mic. Yeah, I know they went orange for some reason. Sounds like other people are having trouble, which you know what? Let me pause it real quick so we can get this figured out. I'm at 2:35 exactly. 2 minutes 35 minutes. 2 hours 35 minutes exactly. Let me pause it for just a second so I'm not yapping away and you guys can't hear me. Any improvement on the sound? Let me see. Circle of Death. Yeah, no kidding. I don't know if you're talking about the audio or the movie. Oh 07. Can everybody hear me? I messed with the mic a little bit. Any improvements? Are we lagging or pausing? Can you guys let me know exactly what's happening? I can see if I can get it fixed up here. Like I said, the movie is paused at 2 hours, 35 minutes on the dot. 1's in the chat if you can hear me. Sound is good. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. Audio 5 by 5. I don't know what that means. We're good. Not the red circle. I don't see a red circle. 111. Okay, cool. We're going to carry on here. 2 hours, 35 minutes. Here we go. So the Mexican forces are pouring in now. We're really seeing things deteriorate rapidly. There's Patrick Wayne putting up a fight. He's getting down. He's getting down. But I don't think he's going to make it. Oh, he's run over. Sword in the gullet. Oh, bro, keep going. Keep going, though. You got a couple left in you. Keep going, dog. Now we're seeing lots of fire everywhere. That would be absolutely real. Everything that was wooden, wicker, whatever, likely be set on fire either purposely by the Mexican troops or from the cannon fire, gunfire. The troops are now moving the cannon. I believe that's accurate too. Crockett really putting up a fight here. It is the general consensus is that Crockett made it to the very last stages of the battle or may have in fact survived. All right, now the Mexican cavalry pouring over a weak point in the wall. I'm not great with which wall in which direction, guys. I'll be frank with you. I had trouble keeping track of that in writing the episode. We're seeing each man kind of meet his final moments here, but all with a sense of resignation, certainly. Oh, thank you very much, Terry. Our $2 super chat. Thanks for the super chats to let me know how things are going. Seriously, thank you. Much better. Okay, right on. Now we're seeing the full force of the Mexican army pour into the walls of the Alamo and this kind of palisade created of empty wagons and barrels as the last resort that the defenders are falling back to. They did continually fall back, fall back, fall back to the farthest reaches, farthest corners of the compound. Now we're seeing the Lancers flood in. It is just deteriorating by the second. Now we see the forces largely falling back to the main building of the Alamo. Oh, Crockett's taking a stab. Uh-oh. Keep going, dog. Keep going. It's not over yet. Oh, no. The lance went all the way through, stuck in a door. Now we're seeing the gunpowder magazine. Crockett throws a torch. Reportedly, someone did this. It wasn't Crockett, but someone ran to the magazine, meaning where they store all of the gunpowder, and threw a torch in there and blew it up. So rock on, rock on. Right, we're seeing Bowie caught in bed. This is realistic. No six-barrel shotgun. He may have put up a final fight, but we don't know. The slave here is reportedly Travis. Reportedly, the man who is the slave was, uh, under the charge of Colonel Travis. And there is Bowie is bayoneted in bed, that's accurate. And we see more and more soldiers pouring in. This is really the last couple minutes of the movie, so they are really hitting it hard in the last minutes here. Some of the children are discovered. This happened, not in exactly this fashion, but there were women and children discovered, the families that stayed. All right, so we showed Crockett passing away during the battle. There are accounts that he was captured after the battle and subsequently executed by Santa Anna. Either way, all of the defenders were piled up like cordwood and set on fire, unfortunately, which was a real big deal, especially to Catholic Santa Anna. We're denying you all burial rights. And it's a big deal within that faith to do that. Running off of steam power. Yeah, they fought to the end, though. Make no mistake about it. This was, however bad you think it was probably 10 times worse than that. Now we see John Wayne's actual real life little daughter being loaded up onto a donkey, a burro. And this was true. Like the women and children were spared. Little girl asks, "Where's daddy?" And the woman is like, "Did you not see what just happened?" She does kind of look at the young girl like, "Are you stupid?" Which, I mean, honest, to be fair, it's like, yeah, did you not see what just happened? What do you think happened to daddy? Let's see. I'm checking the chat too, guys. I'm going back and forth. Poignant scene, though, as we see a line of Mexican soldiers on either side and the lone surviving children and woman being let out. There would have been more women and children than this, but this is representative of the non combatants being allowed out, being spared. They're not super happy. The woman's makeup is completely in place, though. She's having a good hair day. That's all looking good. Kudos for that. And interesting, the women of the town are crossing themselves and have you know uh, visibly more empathy for the survivors, the surviving women and children than the soldiers even do. But now they are standing up and they're all called to attention as the survivors are leaving the compound. Again, I don't know about the veracity of this, but they were left unharmed and they were allowed to leave. Honestly, guys, I think this is an effective way to tell the story, though. Pretty long, but like, I think that was good. Frankie Valli doesn't make it back in time. He takes off his coonskin cap. He's like, "Oh, this sucks." He has this look on his face like, "Well, I tried though. Like, this sucks, but you can't say I didn't try." And like, that's fair. But to reiterate, Frankie Valli has taken the place of Juan Seguin. This in real life happened with Juan Seguin. He didn't come back to the edge of San Antonio, which is a shame they changed him out. I wish they didn't do that because Seguin is a real hero of this story. He did what Frankie Valli did. He really tried to save the guys at the Alamo. We have a nice outro song, very like 1960 epic ballad, and the end comes up. Honestly, guys, I think that's pretty good. Let's put a poll in the chat real quick. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like the movie? Let's take a poll real quick. Let's see. About a month after the Alamo, says Nick Citron, Sam Houston led the Texans in the Battle of San Jacinto and defeated Santa Anna in 18 minutes. They routed them, dog. And that's where the battle cry "Remember the Alamo" comes from. And I've been to the site of San Jacinto, and it's not. Again, it's like, well, it's kind of hard to imagine such crazy battles happening there, but they did. Classic, great watch, great rewatch, says Jake Skywalker. Yeah, I haven't seen the full movie in many years, so that was cool to see. It was pretty good, longer than I thought, says Happy Cap. Yeah, it was. I feel like they could have cut it down just a touch, but they got to get those romantic scenes in there. Is this the one with Billy Bob? Says Matthew Hicks. What's up, Matthew? No, that was last night. We did South of Heaven, South of Heaven, West of Hell. It was a really interesting movie. It was a good movie. Let's see. The Timber Toe Emperor of the West. Is that Santa Ana? Oh, the Timber Toe. Yeah, he had a wooden leg. Eventually, not at the Battle of the Alamo, but he would end up with a wooden leg, wonderfully used as a plot device in King of the Hill. Let's see here. Because there really is a wooden leg that is now on display in museums, and it's been a bit of a contentious issue between the United States and Mexico as to who owns it or who has the rights to it. Let's see. I liked it much, says Clock Cutter. Right on. Yeah, we have, wow, 100% of you like the movie so far. 14 votes in, half of the people here. Very impressive. And it was, like I said, a bit of a pet project, a passion project for John Wayne. I think he did a good job with it. Let's see here. In many ways, this is kind of like John Wayne's The Passion. Like Mel Gibson put his own money in The Passion, right? And that was a box office smash, but very much his own pet project, and as this is for John Wayne. And it took a lot of guts, certainly, a lot of devotion for him to do that. Bama left so she couldn't vote no. Yeah, I think she fell asleep. Awesome watch, though, you guys. Thank you to everybody for joining. This was a good one. A long movie, too, so thank you all for hanging in there with me. Thank you for the movie selection, Happy Cappy. Thank you for financing this endeavor, Nick Sweeney. Let's see. I think they destroyed Crockett's body, says Elite Super Grunt. Yes, as far as we know, everyone was piled up and immolated. I thought Mexico gave that artifact back to France. Maybe, like I said, I'm only loosely familiar with the story. I really found out about it through King of the Hill. And every once in a while, there'll be something on the local news in Texas about the update on that story. Let's see here. Still 100% of you said you like it. Wow, impressive. I agree. Your lights are usually green on the mic. Yeah, now like half of them are green. I don't know what's going on with this thing. As long as you can hear me. Let's see. We need to get to the bottom. Let's see. Our tier 1 units got that one. Sometimes I believe we often forget that these people are real, says Terry R. And they had lives and they did not want to sacrifice. And I'm sure they were terrified of what was to come. 100%. We forget that. We most history, we just don't contextualize it personally. We don't personalize it. And it's like, well, how would you feel if you were there? Well, I'd be scared that I was going to die the next day. I'd be scared of getting stabbed. I'd be scared of how bad it's going to hurt. I'd be scared of how many people are going to come in here. They were terrified of that. They were just as scared as you are. They'd be thinking about their families. They'd be thinking about whether they made the right choice or not. And they'd be thinking that up till the last moment, you know. They didn't know they were going to come. They were going to be a legend. They didn't know remember the Alamo was going to be a cry that, you know, was on people's lips that changed the tide of the war. They thought they were, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like they're going to die in the middle of nowhere in this town that's on the very farthest reach of the frontier. And maybe no one will ever talk about it again, but they felt like it was the right thing to do. So a hardcore bunch of guys. And honestly, the Mexican soldiers too were charging an entrenched position. They lost a lot of guys. They're all young men themselves. It was a terrible, terrible battle. Have you been to the Bob Bullock Museum? Yes, I have. They have lots of Alamo artifacts like Santa Ana's Field Telescope. Yeah, it's been, oh man, it's probably almost been 10 years since I've been there, but I need to go back. I live just down the road from there. I found myself thinking how the soldiers and settlers and Texans, how scared they would be for real, says Happy Cappy. Yeah, they would be terrified on both sides. On both sides, 100%. Let's see. I think his sailor peg is in Illinois. Santa Ana's leg is in Illinois. Okay. Thank you to Nick and thank you to everyone for being here, says Happy Cappy. Absolutely. I can reiterate that 100%. We thank you, everyone, for being here. It means the world to me. Really enjoy interacting with all of y'all. Love seeing y'all. We got a thing we're building here and it's a lot of fun. So appreciate everyone for being here. Seriously, this is really cool. The Nimitz is great too. Chester got to keep all the cool stuff, including a tank. Oh, they have a Nimitz display at Bullock Museum. Like I said, it's been like 10 years since I've been there. Let's see. And last time I went, I was with a girlfriend and she was from Maine. So she obviously didn't understand what was happening. Have you been to, okay, got that. Let's see. Nothing against Mainers. You guys are great. I'm just saying. Let's see. Thank you, sir, says Jake Skywalker. Thank you, man. The Chester Nimitz Museum is in Fredericksburg. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I like Fredericksburg. That's a great city. Great place. I found myself. Okay, we got that. Thank you, Mr. HOKC, says Nick Citron. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here. We're summer. I'm going to go through the chats real quick and then we'll wrap it up so everybody can get out of here on what is 11 o'clock Eastern time, 11:15. Is Surrender Monkey still here? It's like 4 o'clock in the morning for him. Thanks for hosting, Brandon. Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Happy Cappy. I'm just excited to see y'all as hopefully y'all are to be here. So let's see. I'm catching up on all the chats. If I missed you and you really have something you want me to see, just put it back in the chat right now and I'll see it. Or if you'd like to support the program, super chats always welcome. If you can't do that, no problem. Just make sure you hit the like button, share the stream with anybody you think might be interested in it. We're growing and we're growing quickly. So I love to see it. And it's because of y'all. So thank you. Let's see. Might be on mine. Okay. Let's go, Brandon, says Nick Citron. Dude, over the last like 4 years, I felt so encouraged. Like everywhere I'd go, there'd be a Let's Go Brandon flag, especially here in Texas. And I thought, like, I know what you mean by that, but I'm going to take it as encouragement. It's nice to see lots of stickers and flags, encouraging you. They have a large bronze of Davy Crockett outside the Alamo. I don't remember seeing that. I'll have to go look. Let's see. LGB, let's go, Brandon. Yeah, man. I wish I could put that on a t-shirt. I wish I had thought that up. How could you not feel encouraged, says Nick? Yeah, seriously. And there'd be like random, like little ranches out in the country, and you drive by and they have a big flag saying, "Let's go, Brandon." You'd be like, "Thanks, bro. Thank you. I appreciate it, dog." Thanks and good night, says Pet Detectives. Good night. Good night. It's getting late, so we're going to wrap it up here too. All right. Any last minute questions on the Alamo? I'll do my best to answer. I'm not Phil Collins, so I'm not an expert on the Alamo, but honestly, if I was stuck at the Alamo though, right? Imagine this. Imagine you're stuck at the Alamo. The battle's just about to start and you start playing I Can Feel It Calling in the Air Tonight, right? And then just before the battle kicks off, you hear toot, 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 toot. Come on. That's about as fired up as you're going to get, right? It's a good Alamo song. What's tomorrow's lineup schedule? Tomorrow is a Monday, so we'll do coffee chats. I'm going to move it to noon Central, so it'll be 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Western. I got to do an appointment tomorrow morning, so moving it back 1 hour, and then we'll have a nighttime stream. I don't have the subject yet. I kind of just figure those out the day of. Night, gang, says Nick Citron. Till next time. Thanks for coming, Nick, man. Always appreciate it. Good seeing you. Get some rest, bro. We got a big day tomorrow. Mike Tyson says, wait for this. It's my favorite part. Well, I'm not mocking Mike Tyson here. No. I can't do it. Honestly, like he's one of my favorite athletes of all time. Super. The dude does not get enough credit for his intelligence. He's a honest to God, good historian, a learned historian, especially on like Alexander and the Greeks and even on like Marxism and Leninism. He's got a Mao tattoo. I think he's a little misinformed with that, but no, the dude is super smart. So anyways, that's my little rant on Tyson. Got a subject idea, says Josh McAllister. Either drop it in here right now or email me with it. historyattheokcorral@gmail.com. Let's see. Awesome stream. Good time. Thanks, Evan. Good. Glad you made it, man. It's always good seeing you. Good night, Mr. Citron. Man Bear Pig loves you. Kissy face, says Nick Sweeney. That's an uncomfortable combination. Man Bear Pig and a kissy face. Let's see. Chair stream. I am sitting down right now. I need to get up. Sitting is the new smoking. Let's see. Peace out, says Jake Skywalker. Thanks for coming by, man. What about the Great Raid, says Josh McAllister. Buffalo Hump's Great Raid down to Linville. We've talked about it a little bit. Yeah, I can cover it again, though. I mean, I can cover it in more detail. Really, his raid down, the actual raid on Linville, the return, the the Battle of Plum Creek. I'm guessing that's what you're referring to, Josh McAllister, just to be sure. The Buffalo Hump woke up from a dream and was like, I know what we got to do. We got to go to the ocean, which even then I'm going to have a little pause, but he convinced everybody. And we've talked about it before. Buffalo Hump is not his real name. That's not his real name. Let's see. Later's Mr. Pig, says Nitz Citron. But yeah, we can do that, Josh McAllister. It may not be tomorrow. That's a little bit more depth and breadth than I think I could handle tomorrow. The Battle of Wolf Creek. Yeah, I might be able to do that tomorrow. Wolf Creek. We've done episodes on both of those. Some of them might be members only by now, but they are up, and I think you're a member, so you'd have access to them. Comanche, Kiowa, Apache versus Cheyenne and Arapaho. Wolf Creek, you mean? I believe, yeah, that's Wolf Creek, right? I know there was Kiowa versus Cheyenne. Because that was like one of the first episodes I did. That might be the first intertribal episode that I did, was Battle of Wolf Creek. Let's see here. I'm gonna scan through one more time. So yeah, I forgot to write those down. We'll do that right now. Battle of Wolf's Creek. We have Wolf Creek and Great Raid. Okay. Wolf's Creek. Great Raid. Cool. I actually got to crash out. Elite Super Grunt says, me too, man. No worries. So thanks for coming by, and we will see you tomorrow. It's the first hiccup of the show. Well, maybe the second, right? With the sound issues. All right. Peace, Jarhead, says Nick Citron. We're talking about Elite Super Grunt. All right, guys. You did Wolf Creek. I'll have to look it up. Yeah. I forget the actual title, but if you look up Wolf Creek on the channel, it should come up. Very early episode. All right, guys. So we will have an episode out Tuesday. We will have another episode out Thursday or Friday, I believe. Then we'll have our sleep episodes out. We will have streams all the way through. I think the only day we're taking off is Christmas Day. And we will have a super long one sometime this week. We'll take a vote on when you want to do the long hangout stream. And then other than that, I think that's it. So make sure you're coming back here. It'll be 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific for our coffee chat tomorrow. And yeah, same schedule. We'll be rolling hard this week. So looking forward to seeing you. Thank you again, truly, for all the support. Can't thank you enough. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll see you then. God bless. Have a good night.